What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Justin from Justin Paul Sports. Today is Thursday, September the 25th. We are getting ready to sunset on summer as it is technically past, and we are getting into the nice, cool months of autumn. And we are right in the heart of football season. As you know, we do sports betting, we do fantasy football, we do it all on this channel. We want to thank you for joining us, and today is a very special episode. But first, let me introduce my co-host with the most from the great state of Mississippi. This is Bobby from Bobby's Big Board. How are we doing over there, Bobby?
What's going on? I'm excited for this episode specifically. You guys are in store for a good episode of Cover 2 Cash as always. I'm super excited, man. I'm super excited to talk ball of any kind, college and professional NFL.
That's what we do here. We've been doing this channel for a little bit, and we've been lucky to secure a guest. And our guest is a former Gamecock legend. His name is Steven Garcia. We'd like to welcome him to the show. What is going on, Mr. Garcia? Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, Justin, I don't know where you're living at, but it is not autumn weather in Tampa, Florida.
No, I'm in the Phoenix area, and we don't get autumn weather, but I'm just kind of doing that for the general consensus of the end of the month. So here it's still hot for another 2 months.
It's very hot.
Dude, absolutely.
Well, speaking of Tampa, is that where you're from? Is that where you were raised and grew up?
Born and raised. Yes, sir.
Born and raised. So were you a Bucks fan growing up?
Not really.
No?
Kind of, I guess. To be honest, I didn't really give a shit that much.
No? Weren't big into NFL growing up, or just like to play, or?
No, I was just a kid just running around and, I don't know, just being a savage.
That's always the best. I mean, growing up, that's the same stuff. Go and play baseball with your friends and play ball with your friends and stuff like that. But speaking of playing ball, so you started picking it up, and then you get in high school and start getting recruited. 4-star athlete, quarterback. What's the process like if there was somebody to see this, if you're a high school player for getting recruited? It's got to be overwhelming.
It's significantly different than what it was, almost 20 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
And my son is, he's a senior right now, and I'm training quarterbacks down here in Tampa, and all these parents are asking me, like, what was the recruiting process for you back in the day? And it's like, exactly, you just answered your own question. It was back in the day. Like,
Yeah.
it's significantly different. You got the NIL, you got transfer portal. There's so many different things that are happening, and I feel bad for these kids. It's kind of tragic.
Yeah. You mentioned, you have your own son, he's into football playing as a senior. I know you do your own Spin It Athletics. You are a quarterbacks coach, so you coach a lot of kids. Shout out Spin It Athletics. Absolutely. I know you've coached kids of all shapes and sizes and talents. Are there any guys on your radar that you've been training that really just kind of pop off for you on film?
Yeah, there's a couple guys, especially, they're a little bit younger now. I think they're gonna have a shot to really be legit. But I mean, I got guys, I got 3 NFL guys, and all the way down to 8 years old. So, and everything in between. It's
Absolutely.
it's an interesting dynamic. You got some of these parents that are thinking their kid's gonna be the next Tom Brady, and I'm an honest guy, and I just try to tell them, like, hey, if he don't shed some weight, he's gonna be protecting Tom Brady. So, it's very interesting, but I love what I'm doing, man. It keeps me in the game, keeps me in somewhat decent shape.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I know. So in terms of, let's say you're teaching, let's say a high school, junior varsity quarterback, underclassmen, what's the most important thing you think of just teaching a fundamental level quarterback? Like, what is the first thing that you're like, this is what you need to start grasping, like, day one?
Man, that's a very, very tough question, because there's so much stuff that goes into it. I guess to just give a one-word response is your base. If you have no base, if your legs are close together, your ankles are close together, and you look like you're holding a piss in, you, and you finish off balance, you're not going to be very good. So,
Yeah.
it's you kind of equate it to, at least I do. You equate it to what Pat Mahomes has done to what Steph Curry has done to the NBA. You got guys that are shooting from half court. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You're not Steph Curry. And then you
Yeah.
got, Pat Mahomes trying to do the sidearm stuff. And, these guys are elite. They are the best at what they do.
Yeah.
You don't have, I mean, I understand you want to emulate that, but let's go back to what Peyton Manning was. Let's go back to what Tom Brady was. Aaron Rodgers, for all intents and purposes. Matt Stafford. I mean, there's so many guys that are elite at doing it, kind of conventionally. It's everybody likes the glitz and the glamour.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell you, like, it's funny because in the time that you've played and just how much the game has changed in general, everything seems to be RP already.
Oh,
And
yeah.
are you a fan of this, or do you prefer a cadence personally? I'm just curious on that.
What do you think?
I would think that
man.
honestly, I would think that if you're playing quarterback, and I guess I could say this now because I'm in my late 40s, but I would think that you'd want to go up there and draw cadence and try and get somebody to
100%.
jump
Hard count.
more than just clapping. And then I ask it because they had that, that Gruden's camp.
Yeah.
And he had Jackson
that's down here in Tampa. It's literally 5 minutes from my house.
I just don't like the clapping. I'm not a fan of it because if you're defense, why can't you just go up there and start clapping and saying that you're audible? But I know they call it delay a game for that kind of stuff now.
Yeah, it's there's so much of the game right now that's infuriating to me, but
give us an example, please.
I mean, you can barely touch the guy without, the quarterback. You can't touch him without getting some sort of roughing the passer. I mean, there's this, the list goes on and on, man. The defense is so handicapped with how they're supposed to play. You watch it in the SEC specifically. The SEC, when I was playing, that their strength was defense. Now you got guys that are trying to score 50, 60, 70 points a game to win the ball game. It's just it's a different game.
Yeah, you speak to the physicality of, the early, mid 2000s, late 2000s, early 2010s when you were coming up. For a quarterback, you were fairly physical in your own right. I mean, there's plenty of highlights of you. I mean, I've seen you trucking linebackers, getting the goal line scores, things like that. You were asked a question a while back, who was your least favorite teams to play against? And you said Vanderbilt because they play the triple option offense. And as an Army Black Knights fan, I love the Black Knights running the triple option. I think you could have been a hell of a good triple option quarterback with how you ran the rock at times. How do you think you would have operated in an offense like that?
Well, speaking of Army, I'm watching the game right now. Shout out to Cut. I took freaking Army plus 7.5, and they're getting smoked right now. So
yeah, I saw it was 14-0 East Carolina when I checked in.
Yeah, not ideal for the Black Knights. But yeah, to answer your question, man, I would have hated to play in the triple option. I want to see the ball in the air, man. I mean, as much as I ran, I love throwing it more than
you were
anything
passing
else.
first.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of easy to be a passing first quarterback when you got freaks like Alshon Jeffrey throwing to him. I mean, that dude was a monster. You couldn't throw it far enough, man. You couldn't throw it far enough. He's always – didn't matter if there was a guy on him or not. You knew that guy was just going to come down with it. What a freak, man. He was a freak.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. And that's – I got in trouble with it because it's – everybody's seeing the meme. It's like somebody throws the ball. It's like, the hell with it. He's down there somewhere.
Yep.
So I mean, that's kind of what it was with Alshon, and honestly, a couple other receivers, Torrey Gurley, even Ace Sanders, Bruce Ellington. I mean, we had guys that ended up playing in the league for a little bit. I was just a gunslinger. I mean, my favorite quarterback growing up was Brett Favre, and
Brett Favre.
That's kind of how I just modeled my playing style from.
Yeah,
I got a question on that. So I was scrolling through YouTube and checking out some of the stuff you'd said, and you talked about how Spurrier coached and how when you guys played Alabama, how he backed off compared to every other time that you played. And I kept thinking about this, and I don't understand why coaches have to. It feels like if they articulate every single motion of every single thing on the quarterback specifically. You said it stresses you out, and you go out there in the Alabama game, and you said, I didn't, maybe he thought we weren't going to win the game, just said the hell with it and just went out there and did, and you played fantastic. You think that that's something that should be a coach should lighten up a little bit, or does it depend on each player's personality?
I think it depends on each player's personality for sure. He wanted me to be a Daniel Werfel kind of guy.
Oh
Uh,
man,
yeah, I'm just good
yeah,
luck. Good
yeah, he
luck.
was really good.
Yeah, I mean he was good, but that's just not how I play. That's not how I approach the game. But and I tell these quarterbacks that I'm training now, I tell my son this thing. It's like I wish I wasn't so hard headed when I was playing because honestly, I'd probably still be playing. Uh, especially after watching some of these NFL guys, it's like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think everybody's a little different. You gotta adjust your coaching style based on certain guys' attributes, on certain guys, intangibles, their mentality. I mean, yeah, not everybody's built the same.
Right.
Yeah. So we were talking about freaks a little while earlier. You played with your fair share of them. Jadeveon Clowney, who was a freak. Alshon Jeffrey, freak. But I was watching the Tailgate Talk podcast. Shout out them. That's a great show, especially if you're a South Carolina Gamecocks fan. That's a very good show to watch. They even interview players on the practice field from time to time. You guys were talking to the Lanorris Sellers and some of the other Gamecocks. But, man, there's one guy that really intrigues me that's playing right now, and it's Nick Harbor. That dude is a freak. I saw you interviewing him a little bit. What was it like talking to him, and how big is that guy in person? Because he looks massive.
He's a big boy. He's a big boy. Nicest kid, man. Sorry, these blue cheese stuffed olives. Thank you.
They good?
Oh, delicious.
Dude, Trader Joe's has those jalapeno garlic stuffed ones.
Oh my
Man.
God, sounds fantastic.
I don't know if you got Trader Joe's out in that side of the country, but they
We
got
do.
the garlic, jalapeno, stuffed olives. That's like my go-to snack. I absolutely love them. So
Garlic,
stuffed olive,
jalapeno, stuffed olives. We gotta write that down.
That's the next
But
best
yeah.
thing.
But yeah, he's he's an elite athlete. There's no doubt about talking about Nick Harbor. Uh, Again, nicest kid. He came up. These kids, you mentioned the Tailgate Talks podcast. We go up there. I run it with my old teammate, Pat DeMarco. He played 10 years in the league. He
Pro
came up to
bowler.
me. He came up to me 2 years ago. He's like, "Hey, man, like we've been buddies for damn near 20 years. Like, let's start a podcast. I think it'd be awesome. I'm the structured guy. You're the chaos guy. He's the structured guy. I'm the chaos guy. Obviously, you guys know this." And I was like, "Dude, I'm 100% in." So we kind of got off the ground running, and it's been fantastic. I'm getting to that point to where we're at the second day of fall practice or fall camp this past fall, and these guys are dead tired. Camp sucks. Fall
Yeah.
camp absolutely sucks as players. So for these guys to spend their time with me and Pat to talk on a podcast that we're running, it says a lot about the character of these guys. Like Lanorris didn't need to do that. Nick didn't need to do that. Dylan Stewart didn't need to do that. These guys didn't need to do that, but they took time because they want to kind of have their story told. And like I said off air, man, running this podcast is a hell of a lot more work than I was anticipating,
Yeah,
as I'm sure you guys
absolutely.
know. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's honestly fun though, man. Like getting the chance to, obviously my career with South Carolina was tumultuous and didn't end the way I wanted to, but having them allow me to come back and be part of the program and give me all this South Carolina stuff and invite me back to games and sideline, have like inside access, it speaks volumes to not only to Steve Fink and the administration, but to Coach Beamer.
Well, you had some events during your time at South Carolina, but you had a
It's
lot
a
of
good
really
word.
good. There was a lot of really good moments too. I mean, you guys beat a ton of people in 1 year. You beat Bama, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, and Clemson, right? All in 1 year. You were just destroying the SEC, man. So, I mean, I think it's right for them to invite you back because, I mean, you played your ass off and you started a lot of games at South Carolina, right? So
You made me cuss. You made me cuss because I'm an Alabama fan. And no, but like here's the thing. Like it was a bit of a shock, but it was kind of, like I don't want to say but sometimes that just happens. I mean, we saw it with Alabama, I think in week 1. underestimating an opponent a little bit.
Right.
That doesn't seem like a Nick Saban characteristic for the way that obviously his career panned out, but playing on the road in the SEC is tough. And I do have a question about. I got a recruiting question. So I saw that Urban Meyer had recruited you, and you didn't go because Tim Tebow was there, and you didn't want to sit, which makes sense. You're not going to. It's going to be really hard to unseat that guy, no matter who it is, because of his play, won the Heisman Trophy, and things along that. Who else recruited you besides Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer? I'm just curious.
I mean, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Louisville, Southern Cal, Notre Dame. I mean, there was a lot. Some obviously more than others.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like when it's all said and done, I feel like I still made the right decision. And I'll tell you this. Coach Spurrier's biggest pitch, and he not only said this to me, but to everybody else. He's like, you can go to Notre Dame, you can go to Oklahoma, go to Ole Miss, go to Florida, all these schools that have winning traditions, that have, all this legacy and all this other stuff. Or you can come to South Carolina, where historically we have sucked. You can be part of something different, create your own legacy. And it's like, yeah, you know what? It sounds kind of sick. I think I'll do that.
What were your first impressions of Columbia?
Oof. I wish I could tell you.
Okay. Fair enough. It was that good then, huh?
The first 4 or 5 impressions.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
I think that's the coolest thing if you're getting recruited to a major university like that.
I'm not saying my wife's sitting right here, so I can't divulge.
Respect it.
Actually, Steve Spurrier Jr., he actually is a coach at Mississippi State. That's my that's my favorite college football team. And I know you just said that you Ole Miss was one of the schools that were recruiting you pretty heavily, and you were this close. I know the coach was leaving. That's one of the reasons that you said no there. But what were some of the things that were drawing you really close to Oxford, Mississippi? I mean, I wouldn't have been a big fan of Stephen Garcia slinging the rock at Ole Miss, man. I would have probably hated that. Not gonna lie.
Again, you're asking all the wrong questions when I'm in the company of my wife. So
yeah, Oxford's a pretty good place, man. I'm not gonna lie. So
it's not a pretty good place. It's the best.
Yeah.
Stop.
The Grove. No, it's true. The Grove, like Ole Miss is known for that. They're known for like out partying everybody in the SEC. Like
all bullshit aside, man. Coach Ogeron laid out the red carpet. He brought on Archie Manning to come talk to me and my dad. My dad still talks to Archie all the time. I mean, it was the coolest visit that I was on. And I went to Athens, obviously South Carolina, Florida, Tallahassee. I went everywhere. Not only an official visit, but unofficial.
Yeah.
Ole Miss they laid out the red carpet. It was so damn cool.
So we got a question. Did you tour at Notre Dame? Did you ever take a visit up to South Bend?
No. I did not go outside the quadrant.
I grew up an hour west.
I was staying in the South regardless.
Yeah, I grew up an hour west of Notre Dame in Northwest Indiana. My whole family's from Alabama. That's where that was kind of embedded to me at a young age. But it's a nice place. But I think that SEC would definitely have been more your alley because in South Bend, there's nothing to do. It's a gorgeous campus. That's it. And then everything outside of South Bend is flat and corn. And
I mean, that's my mom's side of the family had a giant farm in Indiana. So we used to go there all the time when I was a kid. And then they sold that and then moved to Louisville, Kentucky. So we used to go there and do the Bourbon Trail, and Kentucky was unbelievable.
Yeah. Have you ever been to the Mammoth Caves down there?
No.
Like if you ever
maybe as a kid, I don't remember it.
They have on I-65 there when it's the Mammoth Caves. It's just a sight to behold because it's all this underground stuff you see in like crazy books and stuff. If you're into that stuff, I'm not really into that, but I know it's like
I love stuff like that. I mean, me and my wife just got back from Savannah, Georgia. Had a
great place.
Speaking engagements down there, so we were there and walked and kind of did some touristy stuff. I mean, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a bunch of cool spots in Georgia, man. Savannah's a great spot. Covington's another really great spot in Georgia. I used to live in Georgia a significant amount of time, so there's a bunch of really pretty, Civil War era little towns that are really nice to look at. But Steven, I got to ask you a question, man. Are you ready to talk a little bit of college ball, my friend?
Yeah. I didn't get dressed up for nothing.
Before we jump into that, I got one more question.
Go ahead.
Well, actually, it's a two-part question. So you got to play in the SEC championship. So what was the preparation like for something like that with, what's really going on the line there and a chance to qualify? At that time, it would have been the Sugar Bowl because I don't think that South Carolina was contending in the BCS championship at that particular year. And that's like on my bucket list, is to go to the SEC championship as an Alabama fan. But nonetheless, it's always the game of the day that day. It's like you're going to see NFL talent out there. It's elite matchups every year, regardless, except if that, the one year when LSU and Georgia played, that was kind of lopsided. Right. But nonetheless, and that and like the bowl games is like are the perks and the fun kind of stuff, without obviously divulging too much, like all that stuff. Are the payoffs as good for that kind of postseason stuff? And what was your mindset going in the SEC championship game? Was it super, super nerve-wracking, or were you just going for the next game and trying to, claim that trophy? Because that's a big deal for that school at that time.
Oh, shit. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was definitely nerve-wracking. And, we played Cam Newton and we played them very tough in Jordan O'Hare earlier in the year. And Coach Bird pulled me out because I fumbled twice, trying to extend plays. And, Connor goes in and throws 2 picks in the fourth quarter. So me and Connor are friends now. We were not friends when we were playing. That's a whole different story that we could talk about later.
Sure.
But yeah, man, you go in there, it's like, man, we have a chance to get revenge and like beat Auburn. Like these guys are rolling.
Beat Auburn,
like,
beat them.
Yeah. So we score, make it 21-14 with like 30 seconds left in the first half. We squib kick it. Guy kicks it out of bounds. They get on the 40, throw a pass. Cam Newton throws it. Hail Mary, they score. So it's 28-14. The rest is history. They beat our ass. It is what it is. So yeah, that kind of sucks. But I mean, even getting there for the first time and the only time in school history was pretty badass.
Yeah.
But to answer the second part of your question, like the bowl game, the perks and stuff, it didn't really do much for me. I didn't really give too much of a shit.
No. Fair enough.
It was another game, man, and I'm not saying I don't give a shit about playing. I didn't give a shit about the perks and all the extracurricular, stuff. Yeah. We were there to play football. We weren't there to go on roller coasters and visit the zoo and all this other stuff. Like we're here. This is another game. I'm with my boys. We're in the locker room. Like let's put pads to helmet. Let's go. And it breaks my heart seeing these guys that are sitting out, man. If it was my team, I'd lose a gasket. If I'm the starting quarterback, that's not happening.
Yeah, nowadays in college, unfortunately, NFL business decisions are made all the time because of so much money. And at the end of the day, it should be all about the team, but now it's bled into college football with NIL and stuff. And when I played, it was all about the team as well. And thankfully, we had a good group of guys around us, but unfortunately now with NIL, it's just a lot different. Right?
Oh, it's completely different. And we'll speak on that for a second if you guys want.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a double-edged sword. I'm not going to sit here and criticize a kid for sitting out in a bowl game. Yep. If they are a top 5 pick, sit the fuck out.
Like Cam Ward.
Yeah. Well, hold on.
He played
the first half and then stopped. That's asinine. I don't get it. Either play or don't. Shit or get off the pot. It's very simple. Right. But it's a double-edged sword, and I've been asked this a million times. I think these kids should be getting paid. I don't think they should be getting paid what they're getting paid for what they're doing. That being said, if I'm a player, I'm trying to make as much money as I possibly can because your window of making money in this sport is that big. It's that long. So try to make as much as you can. If people are willing to pay you, take it. Take it.
Yes.
And it sucks that it's come to that, man. You have arguably the greatest coach in college football history literally hang up his cleats, retire because the first question that he came to, when he's doing an in-home visit is like, how much are you going to pay me? How much are you going to pay my son?
Yeah.
That sucks, man. It's disheartening. And you see the product translate onto the field, man. I'm watching this game right now. This kid, he caught a ball. Well, he was at Minnesota last year. 2 years ago, he was at University of, Bumfuck Egypt. Like
Right.
Transfers are crazy, man. I feel like if you sign an NIL deal, you should be there for 2 years mandatory unless the coach leaves. That's how I feel about it. But they can just transfer every single year. I mean, there's been quarterbacks 5 years, 6 years in college and 5, 6 different teams. And I just think that's just crazy to me.
It's beyond crazy. And I'm glad you brought up the Cam Ward thing. I got a buddy who's a decent sized donor for the University of Miami. And we're watching the game last year, the bowl game, and when he went out, he's like, "That's it, I'm done. I am no longer contributing money to the University of Miami. I'm done.
It's kind of a slap in the face to the people that invested.
Yeah.
I would love to see Steven Garcia.
He's got money on that game too. So
I would love to see Steven Garcia at the Pop-Tart Bowl. It's one thing I think he would have a good time with.
The Pop-Tart Bowl, shit.
It's not SEC affiliated, but that shit would be funny.
That would be kind of funny. Just let you go all guns a-blazing on a broadcast. I think that would be epic, man.
No,
you ever think about doing commentary or anything, or like TV, or getting back with the college, or just doing what you're doing now? You're totally fine with that.
No, absolutely no.
He'd be limited on so much. Like he wouldn't be able to say like so much. They limit you so much when you speak. Especially on broadcast, they're going to have a paper of just like, can't say this, can't say that. And I think we're all on the same wavelength here. That's just not anything that any three of us are going to want to do, right?
No,
we tune into Garcia Cast. We tune into Uncensored Garcia Cast. You could probably start charging people for that stuff. Just crack open a beer and start cutting up the game. That'd be great stuff.
But I mean,
great content.
I do that anyway. So I mean,
right.
I don't know, man. I think, and I don't know if you guys heard about Connor Shaw, what happened last week.
No.
Yeah, he collapsed.
Oh yes, I did hear about that. Yeah.
So I say all that to say this, man, and it's life is short.
Absolutely.
Life is not a practice round, and I have no intention of slowing down or trying to appease anybody. I'm gonna do what I want to do when I want to do it. It is what it is.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna throw a Zen in right now.
Hell yeah, dude. Shout out Zens. Is that Zens, or I saw you using something a little different a few months ago on another cast, something that was local.
So this is a Velo.
Yep.
And then what I'm gonna do next here is a Nectar.
Oh, man.
Getting real dangerous.
Hell yeah, dude.
Nectar, that's it's a caffeine deal. So
see, that's what you got to do. You've got to start watching ball and popping your stuff and having a drink and eating stuffed olives and just doing commentary on football. I guarantee. And just ignore the camera and just freelance it.
That's why Gruden's so successful, man. He is just unapologetically John Gruden, and that's why he's so successful. And he's super passionate about the game, obviously. It literally feels like he does multiple lines of drugs and then goes on there and just goes crazy. But it's all just him hyped up about football, man. It's amazing to watch.
It is. He loves football more than maybe anybody I've ever met. I got a funny story. If you have time, can I tell a quick little story? So this was after one of the many suspensions in South Carolina. Coach Spurrier calls me up to the stadium. So I go up there and he's like, "Hey, Garcia, I got somebody that he knows your dad and he wants to come. He wants you to come talk to him." So I go in there and I walk in. It's Coach Spurrier, John Gruden, the athletic director, Spurrier Jr., sitting at a round table, and there is maybe 50 to 100 Coors original banquet beers sitting on this table.
Yellow Label.
This is around, and I don't care if I don't care. This is around 11 o'clock in the morning. So I go out there and I'm like, "Hey, what's up, guys?" Gruden looks at me. He's like, Steven, I know your dad. We go back way back. We go back way back. What do you think Peyton Manning would be doing to you if you were on his roster and you're out here fucking around getting suspended? He would beat your fucking ass. I'm like,
Dang.
Coach, I don't think he would. I'm a pretty big guy. I don't think he would. He's like, see, that's your problem. You always have something to fucking say. Like stands up, just absolutely verbally assaults me. Coach, and like I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm a 20-year-old kid. I'm just like, oh my God, okay, I'm gonna get the hell out of here. I mean, it was pretty cool. And yeah, I see Coach Gruden all the time here. Because like I said earlier, he lives 5 minutes from here.
Yeah.
And we talk about it, man. He's a passionate guy. He loves football more than anything else. And he's got kids.
Yeah. So
Well,
they
he's the
called
guy.
Gruden in to like just full on aerial assault you,
Oh
just try
yeah.
to whip you into shape, man.
Well, him and Spurrier go back and a long time, and they're
Yeah.
friends. And so he was in town for coaches convention or something, and I walk into the Wolves den, man. It was looking back, man. I think that I wish I was a little wiser, and that's what I'm trying to tell these kids now. It's like when you have these opportunities to talk to these coaches, pay attention. I was the opposite. I was extremely hard headed. I still am, as my wife will attest. She's looking at me, staring at me. Uh,
But when you speaking of that, I know I asked you before we came on about your opportunity at the CFL. How did that come about, and what's your take on the CFL game? Do you still follow it? And if you do you like the new rule changes that they put in?
what are the new rule changes?
So they've shortened the field, and they got rid
They
of the
did.
they shortened the field, and they've put the goalposts at the back of the end zone now.
I'll be damned.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
they just need the only thing I think they need to do is do the four downs. I think that the
yeah,
differences of college football or the NFL compared to CFL. I think the CFL would get honestly more American viewers if they didn't have that third down. I think that's
it's
foolish because
it's it's.
you're
Well, they
constantly
could.
moving.
You could also get a point if the returner doesn't return the ball. The punt team gets a point. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah, they got they hit like I know they make you have to return kicks that are missed. Like there's no or you got to get it out of the end zone. It's something along
Yeah,
those
there's
lines.
there's yeah. So I'll answer this pretty quick. You go from playing in the SEC as a 4-year starter,
Yeah,
then you go to Montreal. In the SEC, you're playing in front of roughly 100,000 people, minus Vanderbilt and hate to say it, Mississippi State.
Hey, our
Ain't no man.
stadium's big now.
yeah.
But I mean, when we were playing, I mean, it wasn't that big. I mean,
Oh yeah.
even South Carolina wasn't that big. But you go from playing in an environment that's so hostile to going to Montreal, and these Canadians are speaking French to you, literally French, and there's
Yeah.
25,000 of them. You're like, I don't know what you're saying. I don't know if you're cursing at me or telling me good job. I don't know. Uh, it it
We believe it.
was it wasn't very motivating. I'll say that. Then you have the Canadian tax, which was another kick in the nuts.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was so checked out of football, man. I wish that I could go back and would have kind of dialed in a little bit more and played well and got a chance to go back, to the NFL. I mean, things happen for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Canada was an interesting deal. Um,
It's good that you live unapologetically, though. Like everybody can look back at their own lives and say, "I wish I did this. I wish I did that," and stuff along those lines. But like it's good. It's refreshing to hear a former player say that they kind of did it their own way, even if like you said about Gruden, you wish you just kind of took it in and stuff like that. But at the same time, you were still successful. It wasn't like you were
Absolutely.
some bum ass player, and you still kind of lived the way that you were 20 years ago by being loose. And I think that brings a happiness because sometimes I feel that quarterbacks, specifically quarterbacks, they have to be programmed to be a certain way. They can't trip up in front of the media. They can do this or that, and you're walking on eggshells. And that doesn't seem like a very pleasant life, except for the paycheck. That's
well,
just kind of my take
especially in college now with the NIL, man. We went up
Yeah.
there for the tailgate talks for second day of fall camp, and Coach Shula brought me in to talk with the quarterbacks with Lanorris and these other guys, and he's like, "Do you have any words of wisdom?" I'm like, "I do not. I don't have any words of wisdom because Coach Bird didn't let me talk to the media when I was
Yeah.
playing because he was afraid of what I might say."
Yeah.
And
Well,
as you guys can tell, I just kind of say what I'm thinking.
that's what we want. Like
That's exactly what we want.
it's like, I'm in my late 40s. If I was to meet an athlete or somebody, like yourself or even anybody just from back then, like I think that the people get starstruck and they just don't treat them like human beings. They freak out or want something in return. Like I always, like if I met, for example, I'm a Alabama guy. So if I met Nick Saban, you just want to be mindful and have a normal conversation with him. That's why we're glad you joined the show as well, just to have a normal conversation and not ask like
Absolutely.
nothing crazy or try to have to be anything that you're not, because we don't want any authenticity. But we do want to make some picks, Steven. You want to join us for some college football picks?
Sure.
Yeah, sweet.
All right.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and get into the first game. So kicking it right off with your alma mater, man, Kentucky, the Wildcats, they're going on the road in Columbia, taking on the South Carolina Gamecocks. They are -6.5-point favorites. The Gamecocks are. I'm taking the 6.5 easy for South Carolina. I think Kentucky's one of the worst SEC teams in the country right now. So that's where I'm leaning absolutely here. What about you, Justin? How you feel?
Well, it feels like South Carolina had some heavy expectations, based on how they finished last year. Lanorris Sellers, doing what he did, nearly beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa, had themselves a great season last year. It's kind of it. And then, beating Clemson, which is a big thing for, obviously that's their rival, their in-state rival. I think that this is a get-right game, as they like to say, for the Gamecocks here. And not just saying that because Steven's joining us, but I do think that they can cover 6.5. I think Kentucky's just doesn't have the horses, as my friend John, who is watching, would like to say. So I'll take Carolina to cover the points here. How about you, Steve?
I like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a rather low-scoring game, 24-10-ish, something like that. I think South Carolina will pull through pretty large in the second half. And then we have
I sure hope, man. I got a friendly bet with Tim Couch, actually.
Tim Couch. Okay. Heck yeah. I haven't heard that name in a while. But
what's the bet? Can you say?
$100.
Oh, that's okay.
Just on who wins, straight up?
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man. Well, let's go South Carolina Gamecocks, I guess. Hell yeah. So next up, we have Justin's favorite team, number 17 Alabama, going to Athens, playing the number 5 Georgia Bulldogs. UGA is -2.5-point favorites. And, when y'all lost against Florida State week 1, I feel like it was an eye-opener because Alabama, I feel like, has been playing at the Alabama standard these past couple of weeks. And I think they're going into Athens, and I think they're for whatever reason, Alabama and these players just love to kick Georgia's ass over the past few years. So I think Alabama's got another I'm not going to say upset because the line's close. I think Alabama +2.5 is a very good line. I think that's where I'm leaning for sure.
How about you, Steven? You're shaking your head. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I got another. I hate to name drop, but I got another friendly wager here with AJ McCarron.
Okay.
I'm not betting against Georgia at home with Kirby Smart. I'm not doing that. So Georgia's
best coach in football.
Yeah, that's Georgia's got that one. I'm sorry, Justin, man. Georgia's.
Okay. Hey.
It's a close game. I think either possibility is definitely on the table. I think Alabama's just been a little bit more clean on offense, but Georgia has phenomenal players all over the ball. So definitely excited to see what they do in that game. That's going to be one of the more exciting games, I think, of the weekend.
Doubt.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you, so I'm not one of those Alabama fans that's going to run Kalen DeBoer out of town, from last season. It's like you were talking about earlier with the transfer portals and, with Saban retiring, and you have that mass exodus of players when the rules say you can't even bring them in when the coach comes in. I think that hurt the team a little bit. I mean, it clearly hurt. 4 players are at Ohio State that were on the roster. Now they went out and won the championship. And then the shock of the season at the beginning was the Florida State, and I'm smart enough to know that last year's team is not this year's team. They still have 4-star recruits down there in Tallahassee. It's an elite university, make no qualms about it. But I think Alabama might have went into that kind of thinking that they were going to, dog walk them per se. And I think it shocked the system. I mean, it definitely shocked the fan base. And I think Kalen DeBoer, I think this is absolutely his legacy. I do. I think this is the tenure here. I think that Alabama's been chomping at the bit to prove themselves that they're right. And I don't think that, Monroe or Wisconsin or the teams to be the measuring sticks for how you're going to be. And I don't believe in you can elaborate on this as a quarterback, Stephen, I don't care about last year's results. I don't care that Kirby Smart's 1-6. I don't care about the history. It's these groups. And
Right.
I saw it last week, a Georgia team, I saw it last year. It felt like the Chiefs a little bit, that they were still winning football games, but you could definitely see a little bit of crack in the armor.
Yeah.
I think with Tim Keenan coming back and Jan Miller coming back, and I'm not being biased here because I know Stanford is a crazy place. I think Alabama wins this game outright because I think they have to. It's hard to maintain these kind of winning streaks. Kirby Smart is amazing, but he knows, and the team kind of knows that they kind of skidded by in Knoxville 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to take Alabama here. I think that they've got just as many. They match up well. Georgia's pass defense is atrocious, and if they give Tyson some time, I think he's going to carve them up. I actually think Bama might win by 2 possessions here. I really, in my heart of hearts, I'm going to call the spice on it, and I'll wear it if they lose. But I think that they're a little more of a desperate football team, and when desperate, measures going to have results. So we're going to see, because I think DeBoer's legacy, I think that this is everything. There's more pressure here. He's got to prove he wins on the road. So I'm taking the Crimson. I'm calling on him to answer the call, because if he doesn't, then you got to kind of win out and hope that you can get in as an SEC champion. And the schedule's tough. I think that they're focused and ready. Give me the Tide here.
Alabama's quarterback, Steve, how do you feel about him? You watch a lot of film on him or watch him play very much? Because I really like what I saw. I'm obviously not a quarterback, but I feel like I can watch film pretty well and kind of analyze things. I loved what he put on film throughout these first 3 weeks, even against Florida State. I thought I liked a lot of the things that I saw.
I did not like the week 1 at all.
Really?
But these last 2 have been impressive, and maybe Alabama's back. I don't know, but Justin, I'm gonna get your cut information. I'll take that. I'll take that 2 possession bet all day long.
Oh man, here we go. We'll definitely make sure that, as you see, we got Cut under all of our stuff. Shout out to Cut. We'll shout them out during the show for sure. They've been absolutely fantastic. Sim's a great dude. He says he knows you. It's really cool stuff. I mean, I do like their format better as far as, being able to customize your bets. You're not betting against the house, stuff like that. Quick payouts, super sleek app. It's got you on her, man. We love it.
And I'm a Mississippi native. I live in Mississippi currently. Can't sports bet in Mississippi, by the way. So Cut, I get around that pretty easily. So I use Cut exclusively for sports betting right now. So next game up, we got the LSU Tigers, number 4, going to Oxford to play the Ole Miss Rebels. They're number 13. Ole Miss, weirdly enough, Oxford is a tough place to play, minus 1.5 point favorites. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and pull this over here real quick on the web app here. Let me change my screens real quick. 1 moment.
This is producer Bobby.
Yeah, fucking shit up.
He does all the pulling up of the stuff, but
all right, here we go. So me and Justin, we just made a little tiny $30 wager here. I've actually got LSU plus 1.5 because I think that's where this game's going to go. I think LSU's going to go in. I don't like the quarterback situation right now. Not really sure on Chambliss right now, and obviously Simmons has looked very poor throughout the first 3 weeks. Has more interceptions than he does touchdowns, and he's got Ole Miss minus 1.5. Mr. Garcia, how do you feel about this? Which side do you lean here?
Ole Miss is LSU is gonna roll them.
That's what I'm thinking too, man. That's what I'm thinking too. So yeah, we sent each other a private bet. That's something else that's very cool about Cut. If Steven wanted to, he could literally send Justin a message right now and say, "Hey, take this, whatever odds we want. and everything's cool. So that's another really cool, unique thing that Cut's got going on. So moving on to the next game.
Hold on
Not an SEC match. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. He's got to defend himself a little bit. I'm sorry.
I do. It's interesting, though, you say LSU's going to roll them when they've kind of – their best win was Clemson, who's kind of looked like they've absolutely collapsed.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a litmus test for Brian Kelly because I know that LSU fans are really, really on edge with him. He doesn't seem to fit SEC culture down there.
That's
it's
fair.
such an awkward hire. Like, it's such an – because he's a good coach, but he definitely feels like he's got Big Ten vibes more than SEC vibes, especially down there in Corn Dog Country. I just don't think that LSU is going to go. I think that Ole Miss is going to get them. I think Lane Kiffin's got it right. Even though their backup quarterback is playing, I think this is another situation here where Lane Kiffin's got to have it. And I mean, I do like Garrett Nussmeier as a player, but LSU hasn't exactly beat the brakes off of somebody enough for me to just think that they would go into Oxford and dog walk them. I think Ole Miss wins. I think it's super close. I say it's a field goal game. Maybe goes into overtime here. Should be a fun game to see for sure. I'll take the Rebels here.
I think the under is probably the way to do it.
Yeah, that's a good play too. Yes, for sure. I like that. I'm with you on that one.
Nussmeier, probably, as long as he continues to play at his level throughout the rest of the season, probably a first-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. You got any takeaways just from what he's put on tape over the past couple seasons?
There's no doubt he's going to be a first-round pick.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, not the most athletic guy, but definitely can sling it all over the place. So
he's got some good talent to spin the ball to, too.
Absolutely. All right, next up, we have number 6 Oregon going on the road playing number 3 Penn State. Penn State's 3.5-point favorites. Oregon has just been smoking everybody that they've been playing. Obviously, no super high-level competition just yet. This is their first test. Man, I think Penn State, I'm an SEC fan, of course. I think Penn State wins the national championship this year. I think they have they have the best roster all around, in my opinion. Drew Aller has been a little up and down, but I still believe in his talent. He's a gigantic quarterback as well and can sling the ball. And obviously, Singleton, Katron Allen, both of those are very talented backs. I think it's actually LSU and Penn State in the national championship this year. That was my preseason picks. I think Penn State beats Oregon. I will take the -3.5. I think they beat them by a touchdown.
I think Penn State wins the game here. I think that, they got the better returning roster. Oregon has to replace a lot of things. And I wonder about that with roster turnover, but in college, it's definitely much more difficult to do. It goes back to the Georgia argument. And, Stephen, before the season, we were doing SEC previews, and we previewed every team, and we did the Big Ten based on a fan vote. But when you got a team like Texas that has to replace 2 wideouts, 4 linemen, running back, new quarterback, new tight end, I just feel that it's, even if you recruit 5-star after 5-star after 5-star, to maintain this high standard of excellence, especially in an NIL era, is really difficult to do. Yeah. It's just, you don't have the same groups, you don't have NFL contracts, so you're constantly, and then when they go pro, like Texas and Georgia and Ohio State, but Ohio State has enough depth to where they're okay, I think. Oregon, I think they kind of had the same thing. They don't seem to develop quarterbacks there. They keep getting transfers like Dylan Gabriel and Bo Nix. I think Penn State's going to have this one. They're going to have the whiteout at home. I think they win and cover the 3.5. I think that's a 6-point ball game. Super exciting game, but I won't be watching it because Alabama and Georgia's on.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think Penn State wins that game.
Yeah,
I think they cover.
Absolutely. Okay. And then my most exciting matchup, in my opinion, because I'm a Bulldogs fan, Tennessee is coming to Stark Vegas playing the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Thankfully, I was at the Arizona State game, had great seats there, and dude, it was electric there, guys. They were off the chain. Couldn't talk for a week after that. We were going wild, rushed the field, took both the goalposts down, right? Just crazy stuff. This is a very interesting matchup because they've already beat number 12. Now they got number 15, their first SEC matchup. Our schedule is absolutely atrocious. It's just killer after killer after killer all the way down. Florida, I think, is our easiest game for the rest of the season. So Tennessee is minus 7.5 point favorites. I think if we do lose, I think we can cover, but I do have State winning this game. I am drinking all of the Mississippi State Kool-Aid. I am fully bought in. They are going to break my heart at some point this season, but I don't think it's this weekend.
What says you,
I think you're right. That Tennessee Georgia game was phenomenal. I was heavy on Arizona State to beat Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State wins that game.
Yeah,
wow.
They have a lot of talent. They have a lot of talent. Arizona State does.
I like that quarterback that Mississippi State has as well.
Yeah, he's a gamer. Yeah, he unfortunately got hurt last year, and we had to start Michael Van Buren, who was okay and was competitive in some games, but then he goes off to LSU to be a backup for some reason. But yeah, he's been fantastic. And Aguilar, what a great story Aguilar's been. I think he was Tennessee's like 5th or 6th option at quarterback, and they couldn't land any of the guys whenever Mavliava left. Great decision for Mavliava, I guess, huh? That worked out great. But Aguilar has been kind of killing it at Tennessee thus far, so very impressed with him. Glad a guy from App State can come over and have a good showing in the SEC. Definitely a good story there. But yeah, I got State in this game for sure.
So let me ask you, Steven, I'm asking, we see all this stuff that the media feeds us about, streaks and this and that, and I've got my takes on sports betting for so long. Do you, as an athlete, does the team, is let down real? If you play a game like they played against Georgia, right, and they absolutely collapse, does that roll over into next week, or can you guys just pony up and get ready for next week, or does it depend on the coach, or what does that take? What's your take on something that, if it was you and you were playing for Tennessee and that happened, how would you feel going into Mississippi State? Would you tread lightly or work your ass off? Because I got State covering because of something like that, but it seems like Heupel's really got a good crew here going on this year.
That's a great question, honestly. Yeah, I mean, you're told to have a short memory. You're told to, you play that game Saturday night, Sunday, you forget about it. You're on to the next game. But it definitely plays a role. It's in the back of your head no matter what. If you're a competitor, you're sitting there like, man, we should have won that game. We should have beat Georgia. We should have done this. We should have done that. So it's definitely in the back of your mind. But I don't know, man. I just, after watching that Arizona State game, I have to take Mississippi State.
And the upset, I love it.
Look, we collapsed in the second half, and just for us to come back in the fourth quarter and just really, because they were running it down our throat. So Kanye Udo for Arizona State, Army Black Knight in 2024, was killing it there. He was killing it against us too, man. He just couldn't be tackled on first contact. He just kept just running through people. So, yeah, Arizona State has a ton of talent. Love Levitt, love Tyson as well. I'd love to see him play live, but yeah, I think State. I think they're on a heater right now, and I think they're gonna win, man. So last matchup we have going on here, we've got the Auburn Tigers. Tough loss against the Oklahoma Sooners. They're going on the road to Texas A&M, number 9. Texas A&M is minus 6.5 point favorites. I don't know. I really enjoyed some of the things that Auburn put on tape last week. Yeah, they lost, and they lost against a backup quarterback in the second half, but still, I don't know, man. I think Auburn's going to cover this. I think this might be a field goal game. I don't know if they win the game or not, but Texas A&M also has a ton of talent as well. This is probably the toughest line for me out of the 6 games. I don't feel great one way or the other, but I think I'd lean Auburn here because Texas A&M, you just never know what you're going to get with them on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, that's fair. That being said, I'm gonna go A&M. I think they cover. I think they might put it on them, honestly.
Yeah,
especially after the collapse, right? Last week, that was a big time because they were ranked. Absolutely. They lose the number now. Oklahoma, kind of bullied them in the second half. So, yeah, I could definitely see a collapsing football team going forward. But I don't know, just something about Texas A&M just makes me feel a little weird about going with them every week. They just do it all the time. So
yeah, that's a very, very valid point.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I think is pertinent to this game is Auburn just went on the road to Oklahoma. They just went on the road to Norman, one of the toughest places to play. I mean, they were absolutely reloaded this year. Brent Venables, in my opinion, is the glue that kept Dabo Swinney relevant, because ever since he's been gone, Clemson's kind of taken a dip. And it took a minute here because Venables' seat was hot, but he went and got a much better quarterback to play for him. But I think that going on the road to Norman and then tough and playing, because they played very well. It was a competitive game to the end. They got to come back home. Now they got to go to College Station. So it's back-to-back SEC road games against ranked opponents. I'm with Steven on this one. I think A&M actually rolls them. I think that, Marcel is just going to go have a field day against Auburn's defense.
Yeah,
I don't believe in Jackson Arnold at all. I think that, I don't want to say sadly for Auburn because I'm a Bama guy, but it's just not there yet. Hugh Freeze's seat is going to start to get a little warm. I mean, they had the nice start, but back-to-back road games on an unranked team and losing a heartbreaker like they did last week. And they're still bitching about the officiating today. They put out a press release about that. Did you see that they put out a release about it today? Just get over it. Like, I know that was 5 days ago, though. You need to be over it at this point. And claiming all those false national championships, to get out of here. Give me the Aggies.
Get over it.
Yeah, look, y'all are making me want to switch, but I'm going to stick to my guns here, man, just like I'm sticking to the Penn State Natty. I'm going to stick with the Auburn Tigers. And Jackson Arnold, he may not be able to throw, at a high level, but he can run his ass off. I know that for sure. So, but that is our 6 picks. Steven, we kept you on here almost an hour, my friend, and you went over a little bit. We went over as a group effectively, but I think we had some really good conversations and it got some answers that I kind of wanted to know personally, So, yeah, thank you for coming on. It's been an honor for you to come on our show and hang out. And honestly, we had a great time, honestly.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. That was fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe because Bobby and I have a plan for the NFL draft, and this just came to me. So we're going to live stream the draft, right? And maybe on night one, we'll send you any alcohol of your choice, or we'll buy you some Zin. If you want to have Garcia cast on our channel and we just do the first round live and break down all the picks, would you want to do that?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Sounds
So we'll
awesome.
set that up. First round, and it's totally, we'll just like break it down. And, Bobby's working on this model that he's got going on for the draft because we do fantasy football stuff too. We're about to get into that, and we do the NFL picks and previews. If you want to stick around or if you want to sign off, it's obviously your call. What would you like to do?
Yeah, I'll stick around for a minute.
Heck yeah, man. Whenever you feel like it, we're not holding you to nothing. You can just say, hey, man, thanks for having me, and you can head out, my friend. So thank you so much for hanging around. So we'll go ahead and get into our first matchup. How big are you on NFL right now? Do you watch casually, or are you kind of big into some of the players or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of receivers, a couple of guys that I actually throw to during the offseason. I know Isaiah Rodgers with the Vikings.
Yeah,
pretty well. He's a Tampa kid. It's hard to bet against Aaron Rodgers. God Almighty, that's a tough one.
Yeah, especially with Carson Wentz getting another start on the road versus Aaron Rodgers. So we got Carson Wentz, former North Dakota State Bison, playing against Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he looked adequate last week, and they blew out who they were facing. So Minnesota, they're minus 2.5 point favorites. But Tomlin, man, I don't know what it is about the Steelers and Tomlin. They always make these really just gritty games. That's just how they've been over the past 3-4 years since they've lost Ben Roethlisberger and they've lost that ability to just sling it downfield. They've just been in these really hard-nosed, gritty games with Najee Harris and, company. They lose him over the offseason. I like the Steelers plus 2.5 here. I don't know. I like the Vikings. Jordan Mason, he could get hurt at any point. Jettas is amazing. But the Steelers, man, it just seems like with Carson Wentz under center, he could have a disastrous night at any given week. That's just kind of what he is, man. He's a gunslinging guy that just throws it. He's loose, man. So he's very volatile player. So Aaron Rodgers, opposite of that, at least at this point in his career, at one point considered a gunslinger, but not so much anymore. He's kind of reserved So
let me ask you this: do you guys ever do any teasers?
No, I don't. When it comes to betting, I'm of the old. I just do sides and totals because I feel that it gets stacked against you. Like I'm an absolute anti-advocate of parlays, and I think that's why my channel hasn't picked up is because parlays are a fool's bet. You've got to only lose or tie once, so you're giving the house all the credit. And yes, you get the payout, but you got to hit them all. And like, how many legs? How many times does a person lose it by one leg? Actually, Steven, Bobby's got a story about it. Parlay. Tell him about your parlay.
So, fun fact: last year, during the NFL season, it was like week 10 or 11. I had a 10-leg anytime touchdown parlay, and there were some crazy legs. Like Jalen Naylor was on there. Some guys that are just like. And I hit, and it was a substantial 6-figure amount of money.
Yeah. No shit.
Yeah, it was insane. So
that's why people do it, man. That's why they do it.
And I don't even bet that much. Like I bet spreads here and there now because we're doing shows like this. But before meeting Justin, I didn't bet at all outside of a parlay 2-3 times a year, and I didn't buy back into it. I was like, I'll put 75 grand on this parlay. It's like I didn't do that. So I was smart about it. I took my money and I ran with it. So yeah, absolutely.
Who are you taking here, Steven? I think this is the game in Europe. I think this is the game in London, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's in Dublin. I was gonna put that on here somewhere and then I forgot.
Yeah, I'm going Steelers on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going Pittsburgh as well, just because it's across the pond, and I just like Aaron Rodgers as a better quarterback.
Yeah.
But man, the one thing that does keep this line favored, I think, for the Vikings is defensively. They just get up your ass. I mean, they get at it. They've got Daniel Hunter. I'm sorry, not Daniel Hunter. They got Dallas Turner and Brian Flores. They got great linebackers, great secondary. But I think the Steelers, I think Jalen Warren's going to have himself a game here. I think that's going to be the X factor.
So I've got a guy on our start sits list. So every game after we go over the spread, we kind of do a quick thing on starts and sits. So Caleb Johnson, I want to say, I forget the running back that they elevated to the main roster. Caleb Johnson might be a healthy scratch this week, which is crazy considering he was a 3rd-round pick. Loved him coming out of Iowa, but I guess he hasn't really been able to pick up the offense. He's been struggling on special teams as well. But we'll go ahead and get into the starts. Jettas must start every single week. I think his floor is 10 points in fantasy. Got to start him no matter what the matchup is, even if it's the Steelers and a tough defense. Jordan Mason is the alpha running back workhorse here. He can get hurt at any given moment, but he's been running hard, playing great, so I'm going to start him absolutely. TJ, I've had him on the sit side. He finally has a game where he was getting targeted with Wentz under center. I think this offense can figure it out a little bit and get him involved, so I'm starting him as well, especially in tight end premium leagues. DK, for whatever reason, doesn't have a Steelers PNG yet, so he's got a Seattle jersey on right now. But Rodgers, it took a second, but he's starting to target DK more, especially trusting him more and more in the end zone. Rodgers has always been a guy that you have to prove it to him before he starts targeting you heavily, and then once he gets the trust, it's just spam to DK. Yeah. So I think that's something that's going to happen with DK down the stretch this year as well. So I think DK is a cool start in your flex spot. And like you said earlier, Justin, I think Jalen Warren's going to have himself a day. He can catch the ball in the backfield. He can run pretty hard as well. So yes, I understand there's casinos in Biloxi, Philadelphia, but Biloxi is about 2.5 hours from me, and the closest casinos in Philadelphia or Vicksburg, and they're about an hour and a half away from me. So Cut is no hours away from me. It's right at my fingertips. So good. I like that. But yeah, I do tend to have fun at casinos. I do like to indulge a little bit. So for the sit side, Carson Wentz, like I said, he can have a 4-interception day in a blink of an eye, or he can be the exact opposite. He was playing at an MVP level many, many years ago at this point, but he's not that player so much anymore. I think he's clearly a sit. And J.J. McCarthy, if he was to start, I know he's already been ruled out. I think he's a sit. He's been kind of struggling this far in the NFL. Who would have thought a guy that played at Michigan and handed the ball off that many times would struggle a little bit? Jordan Addison, he's coming off the suspension. I don't know how well he is in terms of understanding. I don't know how good of shape he's in whenever you're off during the season and you're coming off a suspension. I just need to see how you're going to be intertwined into the offense. I don't know if Carson Wentz has ever even thrown a ball to Jordan Addison outside of this week. So definitely staying away from Addison, but he can definitely rip off a 60-yard touchdown out of nowhere. And Aaron Rodgers, like you said, Brian Flores in this defense is just merciful. I mean, they are just relentless. And I think Aaron Rodgers, he's been getting beat up this year. He's been getting sacked a decent amount. He's been getting hit a bunch. And they are not shy at sending pressure at people. And I think Aaron Rodgers, he might have a decent day, but I'm just worried about the pressure coming his way. I think there's better quarterbacks that you can start in your 1-2 quarterback leagues. But then he could just do what he did against the Jets and throw 4 touchdowns all of a sudden. So Jonnu Smith, he's a bait tight end right now. Stay away from him. The targets are all over the place with him. And then Caleb Johnson, we don't even know if he's going to play a snap. He's played, I think, a grand total of like 5 snaps this far this season. So staying away from him. Any agreements, disagreements on here thus far? I think this is pretty standard. I think Rodgers might be the only controversial one here.
To be honest, man, I don't play fantasy football, so this is all above my head.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with this list. So we just hop on to the next one.
Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and get on to the next matchup. We've got the Washington Commanders. Hopefully goes back to the Redskins. I like the Redskins logo a hell of a lot more than a big blocky W. Whenever we went over the Big Ten, all of their logos are just letters. Like, that's all of the logos. I's, W's, that's all it is. I need a little bit of creativity. Look at the Falcons logo, man. There's a little bit of creativity in there. Yes, it's an F, but it's cool. It's a cool F. They're going on the road to playing the Vikings. The Commanders, looks like Jaden Daniels is playing, minus 2.5-point favorites. The Falcons had a disastrous week last week. They got They got shut out by the Carolina Panthers, of all people. And it just seems like they just don't have it together. Penix looks like he's struggling. I'm going to take the Commanders here. I need the Falcons to prove to me that they're an actual franchise right now. And the Commanders, they've struggled on offense too, but I think I'm going the Commanders here. I think they win by probably 10 points.
Spicy.
Yeah.
I'll take the Falcons here. I'll take the Falcons because, Big Bill Krosky-Merritt, he hasn't practiced. Terry McLaurin hasn't practiced. Jaden Daniels coming back from an injury. The Falcons are, I talk about desperation all the time. It's just a gambling, rule that I believe in. And especially when you're a home dog, they've got to get it together. I know that Falcons fans are ready to just go insane. And I think that there's some truth to, if you play like shit the week before, the next week you kind of want to prove that you belong.
Yeah.
I think this is a turning point here for Atlanta. I'm going to take the points at home. I think Penix still has to show it, but they still have Bijan. They still have Mooney. They still got Pitts. They've still got playmakers. So I'll take the Falcons and the points at home.
God, that's a tough spread.
Yeah.
I'm a Penix guy. He's a Tampa kid. I actually trained him since he was in 8th grade.
Oh yeah.
So I can't. I'm not gonna go against Penix. I had him last week. Obviously that was a shit show, but yeah, I'd like to see the Falcons win this game at home.
Yeah, I did a film breakdown on Michael Penix, and that makes a hell of a lot of sense that you trained him, because he will throw some crazy high risk throws every now and then.
He's young.
Hey, look, he's a gunslinger too, man. He doesn't have the most rushing upside, but he's a gunslinger. That's what I said in the film breakdown. So he will throw some throws that are like, what are you doing? And they'll work out from time to time. So definitely.
But isn't a part of that, hold on a second, Bobby, but isn't a part of that quarterback just being like having fun playing fucking football? Like, you want to throw touchdown passes. You want to just like, you know what? If he's down there, go get it. Trust your guy to go get it.
Yeah. He's got some guys that can do that for sure.
It can't be robotic and enjoyable. Like,
and that's I've been saying that since his 8th grade year, man. You can't be a robot.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's definitely fun to watch. So this is what I'm going to say about the Commanders, the start sits. We'll keep this quick. Jaden Daniels rushing upside makes him relevant, even if he doesn't have a great day passing. The passing attack hasn't been great. Terry McLaurin, if he does play, I think the connection has started to catch off a little bit, especially last week and the week before that. Terry McLaurin's had a decent, season thus far outside of the first week. Deebo Samuel, they're using him in all sorts of ways on the end arounds, giving him carries. Cliff Kingsbury is this is the perfect player for Cliff Kingsbury. He can be used all over the place. No, Drake London's been really underwhelming thus far. I think Michael Penix last year was really heavily targeting him. I think with the gunslinging nature, I think Drake London can catch a big one. And then Bijan Robinson, one of the best running backs in the NFL. He just shows that on a week-to-week basis. He hasn't gotten any touchdowns yet on the ground, but I think he's going to get one versus this defense that's just it doesn't have a ton of guys outside of Bobby Wagner on defense. Then for the sits, I got Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. He hasn't practiced very much. Doesn't even look like he's the starter when he is playing. I hyped him up a good bit in the offseason, but he's just a guy that's going to have to show it first. Zach Ertz, I think there's much better options out there at tight end. Penix is a sit for me. I need him to show me he can go out there and have a very good performance, but right now he's got more interceptions than he does touchdowns throughout his career. I need him to prove it to me versus a defense that isn't the best. He's had a couple of tough matchups. Carolina surprisingly has a solid defense, at least passing defense. So Michael Penix, he'll have to show me, and once he does, I will be all on board. Darnell Mooney, he's a guy that just hasn't really gotten a ton of targets thus far, and he's trying to find his role in the offense. And then Ray McLeod, he is the biggest bait wide receiver. He has always 8 to 10 point projections every single week. Do not start him. He is complete bait.
I agree.
Yeah. Keep on chugging. We'll go on to the next matchup. So
I was about to say, man, I'm getting the look.
Oh yeah, look, I completely hear you, my friend. What a good one to stop on. But again, thank you so much for hopping on with us. I mean, over an hour. We couldn't have asked for more.
Bills 15.5. Holy shit.
Yeah, the Saints are really bad.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Hammer the Bills.
Yeah, hammer the Bills. Well, thank you so much, my friend. We're very grateful that you could hop on and talk us a little bit. That Gruden story had me literally almost crying. That I can just imagine Gruden just doing that. Man, that's amazing.
The stare in the face and everything. Yeah, it was interesting being a 20-year-old kid seeing that.
All right, well, we really appreciate you coming on. Is there anything you want to plug or promote? We got 18 people watching. Anything that you're going on, anything you sell, anything to tune into besides podcast with Gamecocks?
Yeah, I mean the podcast, you got the nectar, the caffeine pouches. I mean it's pretty much it, man. Cut.
Yeah. And look, if you're up and coming quarterback in the Florida area, man, spin it athletics, dude.
I don't need any more kids, man. I'm tapped out on these kids. Look at this gray hair I got going on here.
He's got young ones. Bobby's got young ones.
I've got young ones.
So I got a 20-year-old and a 13-year-old. So it's just, yeah. But thanks for coming on. Thanks to Cut for setting us up. And, we'll definitely do something for the draft that first night. That'll be a lot of fun. That's going to be super loose. We won't have a whole lot of graphics and stuff like that, but that'll be a Thursday for the ages. So thank you so much, Stephen. We humbly appreciate you coming on, man. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate you guys inviting me, man. This is fun.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, man.
All right, boys. We'll see y'all.
See ya.
Sweet. All right. Awesome. Well, we'll just get right back into it.
Let's go.
So, Saints at the Buffalo Bills. You know how I've said this countless times. Any line that's over 10, I'm always usually going for the underdogs. The Saints might just be that bad. I feel like the Bills are going to get up 10, 15 points, and then they're just going to run the ball the whole game, and the Saints are going to claw their way back a little bit.
I'm going to go with the pride factor here. Spencer Rattler hasn't been the cause of this team being
absolutely
awful.
Not.
Last week, this is a huge gambling thing for me. When you're scoring ridiculous points based on defensive touchdowns or special teams points, that can inflate a line unnecessarily the other way. So I'm staying away from this game because the game is in Buffalo. I think 15.5 is a bit too much. I think you're going 3 possessions here at this point.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's 16 would technically be 2 possessions, but I would take the Saints in the points here on this one.
Yeah, I thought I was a little crazy for leaning that way. I'm glad that the professional sports bettor is taking my take here. So yeah, absolutely. I think I'm taking the Saints too. Now, it's hard to start any of the Saints players. It just is. It just is. So Josh Allen, I mean, he's a no-brainer start every single week. He's got the most upside of any quarterback in fantasy, not named Lamar Jackson. He probably has even more upside than Lamar Jackson at this point. Keon Coleman, I think he can catch a deep bomb. That cornerback room for the Saints has just not been it thus far. James Cook, he's been cooking, no pun intended. He's been doing great. I think they get up in this game, and I think Cook will get a ton of carries, him and Ray Davis both. And Dalton Kincaid, Dalton Kincaid's had a weird career thus far, right? He had a breakout year about halfway through the season, halfway onwards to the end, was looking like a great player, and then in 2024 he played hurt most of the year, didn't do too much. He looked pretty poor in a lot of games, and now he's fully healthy, and he's looked great throughout the first 3 weeks, 2 touchdowns. Think he might be the first or second in receiving yards thus far. Dalton Kincaid, I think he's a mid to high end tight end 1 this year, so starting him. And then Chris Olave. I've been a hater of Chris Olave all throughout the offseason, but Spencer Rattler seems to be calling his name a good bit. Had a ton of targets last week. As long as he stays on the field and doesn't get concussed, I think, because DeMar Hamlin, he's trying his best, to even out his KD ratio. I mean, he did it to Tua last year. He's trying to – dude, he is going crazy. He's trying to hit people as hard as he can. So – for the sits, Spencer Rattler, I love him. I've liked what I see on film, but the Buffalo defense is crazy. I mean, they've just been hurting people thus far, and I think Spencer Rattler, this is the first game that he's going to struggle a little bit, because thus far he's been fairly decent in terms of a fantasy perspective. I think this is the first game where he's going to struggle a little bit. Kamara, I think they're going to stuff him a decent amount. He's been hit or miss so far this year. I'm staying away from him right now. Rashid Shaheed has always been bait. He's been bait since last year. Derek Carr was just throwing him deep balls. I don't think that's going to continue to happen. He's a fast guy, but the floor is literally 0 points. So staying away from that. Jawan Johnson, look, I just keep fading him. I don't know why. I don't either. He did decent last week. I just feel like versus the Bills, they have a great linebacking core. They're going to have those safeties up guarding him. I know Spencer loves him. It's just I feel like this is the week that it's going to be a bit. I'm sure it's going to be a bit going forward where I'm going to fade him. He's going to do 15-point game. I'm going to fade him 15-point game. It's just. So far, it's been working. So, out of respect for Jawan Johnson, I got to sit him again. And then Khalil Shakir. I think he could have a solid game, but literally his floor and his ceiling, I've said this every week, it's like the same thing unless he catches a touchdown. He's like 5 for 60 every single week. So, it's like that's 10 points. He's always getting you 10 points, and he's not getting you anything more than that. I'm going to go a little higher upside than Khalil Shakir. Obviously, Jawan Johnson is a guy that you'd probably start. Couldn't think of anybody else to put on there.
I think you could start Kamara and Rattler. I mean, Baltimore decimated his defense, and I don't think that necessarily, New Orleans is having these major offensive woes. Like I said, I think it just got out of hand last week. Yep. Game is on the road again, but when you're embarrassed like that, you want to come out and prove yourself as a professional athlete. Nobody wants to be like that. They clearly haven't quit on the coach. So I think that you could start Spencer. I think you could start Kamara, and I think you could start Jawan. But I'm with you. And I was never a big Dalton Kincaid guy. I mean, he finally had a game last week, but prior to that, he's really been kind of absent for fantasy. So
yeah, he's had, I want to say 15 points or 16 points last week, and then he basically had the identical game week 2 and week 3. So excited for him. I'm starting him. I just actually traded Travis Etienne away for a 27 first and a 26 second. So with him gone out of my flex spot, I am taking Kincaid. He's playing against one of the worst defenses in the NFL, so hopefully he can have a good game. I am very hopeful for that. So we're going to go ahead and keep it trugging along. The Browns, look, I'm sure you don't like seeing the logo right now. That was a tough loss for the Packers. The Browns defense, we both said it. We both said Browns are good underdogs to choose on the spreads. We were both right about that. and the Browns ended up actually even winning the game on a crazy fourth quarter. Of course, Judkins was, the stat line does not tell the story at all. He was pretty much bottled up a lot. He was short yardage pretty much the entire day until the fourth quarter, and he broke off a couple of big-time runs at the end of the game. But like Judkins, I like that they just keep feeding him the ball. He's like the only guy in this offense. Browns on the road against the Lions, who just put on a masterclass versus the Bears a couple of weeks ago. Had a great win versus the Ravens this past Monday night. So it is a short, a fairly short week for them. I like the Browns plus 8.5 here, man. I like the Lions, but man, the Browns just keep staying in these close games no matter who the opponent is. Because I think the Packers are a very good team. You saw what they did to the Lions. They did play right. I'm not.
Yeah, that was
having a mental
day.
block. Yeah, okay. I was just making sure. They beat the Lions. I know football math doesn't usually work, but I think the Browns plus 8.5 here.
So the Ravens blew the Browns out of the water, but the Lions have 2 wins, and they've scored a ton of points against the two of the worst defenses in Chicago and Baltimore. Baltimore's defense stinks. Yep. They've given up a ton of points. They were getting cooked. And I think that, eventually they're going to pull the plug here on Flacco. I don't know if the Browns are waiting, like I say every time, for Deshaun Watson to come back, because they do have money in him. And I think he's a better option than, putting a rookie quarterback out there with his defense. But I think that the Lions' offensive line is being retooled here, and the Browns were just getting Jordan Love getting in his ass last week. They were stopping Josh Jacobs. And in week 1, the Packers
2 yards a carry, I think.
The Packers in week 1 shut down Gibbs. Shut him down. He had like 10 carries for 18 yards, was catching the rock. I think the Browns keep this game really, really close. Thank you, Ringside Rats. But it's just nonetheless, I think this is too many points. I think this is an overreaction to the Lions just beating the Ravens on the road. And yes, they're at home, and I think they should be a touchdown. 8.5 is way too many, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Could be a backdoor cover here, but they're going to give Jared Goff a hard time. And they're going to give that running game a hard time. And, it's just when you got a pass rush that can get there and you can stop the run, it makes your secondary better. And they've got great players in secondary with Delpit and Newsome, and they've got, Mason up front. It's just they're a Super Bowl caliber defense. And if you're going to give me more than a touchdown with an elite defense like that, I'm going to take it. I don't care who they're playing. I don't care if it's home or away. Just give me the Browns on the points here.
And you got to stand by that because, you did it last week versus your favorite NFL team, right? So, they have a great defense and they've been playing like a great defense, right? So, I love the soundbite. You saw Myles Garrett beat the offensive lineman, and the offensive lineman was like, Jordan, run!
When you're beat, that's actually the right thing to do.
Jordan, run!
You're not going to catch him.
And Myles Garrett is just different, man.
It's him. It's him and Parsons and Hutch are like your elite defensive. Bosa got injured, but those 3 are your kind of elite pass rushers. So when they get past you that fast on that play, that's a testament to him. And it's also, how the Packers' offensive line is really banged up right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to see. Zach Tom's supposed to be out. We'll get to the Packers later, but give me the Browns on the points.
Yep, me too. I completely agree there. So, start sits. Quinshon Judkins. Not because you look at the stat line, it doesn't tell the full story. Judkins, he was stuffed a lot in the first half, and then the second half he got going a little bit. But it's a testament he didn't slow down. He still looked as fresh as he did in the first quarter. And the Browns are fully committed to having these close games where they're going to utilize him a ton. I think he gets 20 carries this week versus the Lions. And just because of that usage, I'm starting him. Harold Fannin Jr., kind of a similar thing I've been telling you guys since the preseason. Get this guy on your rosters because he is a cheat code. And I think he's going to continue to be a cheat code, even with a struggling offense with Joe Flacco, who's been very poor at quarterback. Harold Fannin still is leading the team in targets, leading the team in receiving yards. He's just been cooking. And Harold Fannin Jr., he's going to continue to dominate because of how they utilize him. He's a focal point in the offense. You have to start him. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think even against this great this great defensive front in the Browns, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is still, I mean, if you have him on your roster, you have to start him in any given week, even against hard matchups like the Browns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's the short guy. I think there's going to be a ton of just pressure in Goff's face, and he's going to have to get it out real quick. And who are the two guys that he gets it out to quick? Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta, and Jahmyr Gibbs to a certain extent. So both of these guys, I don't know if Jahmyr Gibbs has a big day rushing, but he will have a ton of catches similarly to how he was in week 1. Then we go to our sits. I think Jared Goff's going to struggle against this pressure. Mason Graham, Myles Garrett, I think they're going to make Jared Goff run for his life. And I don't know if you guys have seen Jared Goff scramble lately, but he's not the most quick accelerator by any means. He's good off play action, but if you're trying to get him to scramble outside of the pocket with a monster Myles Garrett coming after him, it never ends well. Same thing with Jameson Williams. Like I said, I think there's going to be a ton of pressure in Goff's face. I think Goff's going to make a few mistakes. And Jameson Williams, he's just a guy that's going to be getting thrown too deep down the field. He's not going to have time to get Jameson Williams a deep shot. Maybe he gets one. I'm staying away from him. I usually stay away from guys like this where they're just one big play or nothing. Like his floor is literally 0, so staying away from him as well. And then for the Browns, Joe Flacco, he's been terrible throughout his first 3 weeks. I don't think that changes against a really good Lions defense. Jerry Jeudy, I think he needs a quarterback. Gabriel came in, went 3 of 3 and a touchdown. I think Flacco gets pulled very soon, and I think Gabriel may come in, or they might have a little preseason action where they have Gabriel for a couple quarters and then they have Shadir go in there. I'm not sure, but until they figure out the quarterback situation, Jerry Jeudy is not a guy I'm comfortable starting. And Dylan Sampson, he's just not going to get any usage, I don't think. Judkins is the full workhorse.
It's a good list.
Yep. Well, we'll go ahead and get right to the next thing. We're chugging along. Chugga. Panthers, Carolina Panthers coming off a great performance. 30-0, I believe, was the final score versus the Falcons. They're going on the road playing the New England Patriots, who have had a solid start to their season. -5.5-point favorites at home are the Patriots. This is a weird line because the Panthers looked great last week. In division, the Patriots have looked solid, but haven't had an outstanding performance like the Panthers did last week thus far on the season. I like the Panthers +5.5 here. I do like the Patriots and what they've been showing, but the Panthers, they seem like they're starting to get their act together. Ted McMillan's getting involved. I know he's a little banged up, but I think he should play. Bryce Young played pretty decently as well. He's had a couple of situations like the second half of the first game where he throws 3 touchdowns in the second half. He had the performance last week. He can put up a dud any given week, but I think the Panthers are just now starting to figure their stuff out, and I think the Patriots are going to get a little surprised by the Panthers, man.
I'm going to take the points here. I'm sorry. I'm going to lay the points. I think the Patriots win this game. They should have blew out Pittsburgh last week, but Ramondre Stevenson had 2 fumbles inside the 2.
We'll talk about that.
They should have just absolutely crushed them. I don't think the Panthers are necessarily an elite team yet. They've got great players on defense, and I'm a Bryce Young fan. But I think that the Patriots have to get this right. I think Vrabel's going to be up their ass about it. I'll take the Patriots to win by touchdown here. I'll lay the 5.5 here.
Yep, I can definitely see that because, in my opinion, I do think the Patriots have a better team, and I think they have the better coach. And I think they have the better quarterback as well. And we'll talk about that quarterback right now. Drake May has had a pretty solid start to the season. I think 5 touchdowns, 1 interception thus far, I believe, and a couple of rushing scores. So Drake May, I think he's got the rushing upside to be relevant, and I think he's got a pretty solid cast. I think they have a bunch of wide receiver 2s right now, so I do think they're going to address that need. Maybe grab a Jordan Tyson in the 2026 draft class, some are saying. A wide receiver like that caliber. I think Drake May, he needs another wide receiver to be really dominant, but definitely like what he's put on film thus far. And Travion Henderson, I've been saying this week after week after week with him. He hasn't really had a big-time game. He's had a couple of 10-plus point games over the past couple of weeks, but he hasn't had the opportunities yet. He led the team in carries last week because of the fumbling issues. Ramondre, he had 2 fumbles. I don't even know if he gets more than a few carries this week. Same thing with Antonio Gibson. He had a fumble. I think Travion, you see, if you guys have paid attention at all in Patriots practice, he's been getting exclusively the first team reps at practice. I think Travion Henderson gets 80%, maybe even higher than that, of the carries this weekend. And Travion Henderson, I think this is his coming out party. Because, Justin, do you know where the Carolina Panthers rank in terms of rushing defense?
Tell me.
31st out of 32 teams in the NFL. They give up 139 rushing yards a game. Travion Henderson's going to get the majority of those carries. I think he's going to have a field day this week. So coming out party, calling it right now for Travion Henderson. Kayshon Boutte, we talk about him every week, man. He just keeps doing it, okay? I just can't not start him anymore. He's just a guy that's going to be in my flex spot until I get someone better, because he's going to put you 8 to 14, 15 points every single week. Drake May loves him. He's the deep threat at times. He can be the short yardage guy as well. He's just utilized all over this offense. Ted McMillan has been phenomenal. I think he leads all rookies right now in yards. Obviously not touchdowns because of Emeka Egbuka, but Ted McMillan has been phenomenal throughout his first 3 weeks, had his first 100-yard game last week. I played against him, of course. And then Chuba Hubbard, I think he's going to run all over this Patriots defense. I think he's getting all of the carries. Rico Dowdle scared me a little bit, but it looks like it's the Chuba Hubbard show thus far in Carolina. So starting all those guys. For the sits, Stephon Diggs has been widely irrelevant. He's got a 10-point projection. He hasn't scored more than, I think, 8 points this year. So, and this pass defense for the Carolina Panthers has been very good, towards the top of the league, by the way. So, not starting him. I think he's been underwhelming. I think he will continue to underwhelm people this season. Kyle Williams, and they paid him a ton of money too. Kyle Williams next up. He just hasn't gotten the snaps yet. I think he's super talented, but he just hasn't had the opportunity to shine yet, and I don't think that changes versus a really good passing defense in the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young, I just need to see a little bit more from Bryce Young before I feel comfortable starting him over some other quarterbacks, but definitely see some flashes, and we've seen flashes from him ever since his rookie season. So JT Sanders, told you guys he was bait last week. He's a bait again this week, so stay away from him. And Leggett, the more and more I watch Leggett, I love him as a person. He says a bunch of funny stuff. Leggett, just the more and more I watch him play, the less and less I like him as a football player. So I got to be honest here. He just makes dumb mistakes. His running's getting worse. It's just weird. He's one of those guys that broke out. Yeah, he's one of those guys that broke out.
Late breakout. 1 year, he's in his 23 when he finally breaks out. That's always an indicator. I mean, he's a super nice guy, but like, man, you know what? I would put that dude on kick return and punt return.
Yeah.
You know?
And he's a super athlete. He's got to see like the athletic measurables of
who could probably use him? You know who I could see getting him and doing something with him would be the 49ers in your Debo role. That's your guy. Give him on jet sweeps, give him on stuff like that. You know, don't make him.
He's a sacrificial X here. That's what he is in this Panthers offense. He just runs goes, comebacks, and hitches. That's what he does, unfortunately. And deep digs, but they don't really like him over the middle of the field. And I, quite frankly, don't either. He's got drop issues. Now, this line is after the news with the Giants. They're starting Jackson Dart. Look, I'm terrified for Jackson Dart because he wasn't pro ready. He still isn't pro ready. He doesn't come from a pro style offense at Ole Miss. And I think he's going to struggle heavily throughout the first 3 weeks. I hope he doesn't, because I like the kid and I like some of the throws that he makes. I think he's super talented, but he just needed more time. In Dayball, they kind of forced his hand, I think, starting 0-3. And they're like, you have to start this kid, and if he does bad, you're getting fired. I think Dayball might get fired in the next 3 weeks because they have the Chargers, they have the Broncos, and they have the Eagles. 3 really good defenses back to back to back versus a quarterback that's never had a start before. And he looked great in the preseason, but I'm very worried for Jackson Dart because he's going to lose Dayball, and I really like Dayball as a QB developmental coach. So the Chargers, they're going on the road at MetLife playing the New York Giants. The Chargers are minus 6.5 point favorites. I think the Chargers cover here. I think they're one of the best teams in football. So, yeah, that's basically my take on it.
I think this is a trap spot. I think you're going to see the Giants come out with high energy here. I mean,
oh, for sure.
You can tell, like, the way that the game looked on Monday night with the Chiefs, or Sunday night, they were still hanging around in that game. I mean, they didn't let Kansas City go crazy on them. The Giants have great defensive front. Their front seven's really good.
They've got running back
who brings energy. I think that Jackson Dart might be the guy to just jumpstart them. I'm going to take the points here. I'm not so sure the Giants win, but I don't think that Dayball's going to get the axe this year. I don't, because
I hope not.
I feel like this is because he didn't draft Daniel Jones. This is his guy. And I think that the Giants are going to wait and see all season how it plays out with him and how he does with this football team, regardless of who's on the schedule. He named them for the starter for the rest of the season, so it kind of puts that to rest. It gives ease in the locker room to say, we're not waiting for Russell Wilson to come out of the game. We've got our guy. And I can see the Giants keeping this game close, really close, potentially win. I mean, the Chargers have been red hot, and when you start getting red hot like that, there could be some sustainability. But I think the Chargers do win, but I'm going to take the points at home. I'm a big fan of taking the points at home. Like, it's hard for me to say no.
On the flip side of that, right? So what you said about teams starting red hot, I think they have a ton of momentum, and I do think the Dart changeup is really going to make this team fired up, right? Anytime you get a QB change, the team's hyped up for it, right? Because he's a young kid. He's got a ton of energy to him. And they do have a great roster. And I think Dayball has really built – Dayball and the GM for the Giants, they've built a great team, I think. Wandale, Malik Neighbors, Cam Scadaboo seems like he's a hit, right? Jackson Dart, yet, in the preseason looked great. You have the best defensive front in football, even though they might not be playing like it thus far. They've been amazing at finding talent and hitting on talent. But on the flip side of that, you have all this talent, and yet you're 0-3, and you've been struggling in pretty much every single game outside of the Cowboys game, right? So right. I hope and pray that the front office for the Giants and the owner of the Giants understands this guy has a vision. He's finding all the talent. It just needs time. But sometimes franchises don't wait for that. So I think it's a death sentence for Dart if Dayball gets fired, and I think it could be a Trevor Lawrence situation. So I'm hoping that Dayball stays in MetLife for a while, and they just be patient with him. But let's go ahead and get to my start sits. So Herbert, I was not a big fan on Herbert. I thought he was a solid high-end QB2 coming into the season, but I think he leads the NFL in passing yards right now, if I'm not mistaken. He has been playing lights out, playing amazing football, making great throws all over the field. I just didn't think they were going to use him that much in the passing game because they ran the ball a ton last year. They've changed the offense a little bit more to be, yes, it's run first, but it's still Herbert's using all of his talent on the field. So definitely like Herbert starting versus this defense because they give up a ton of big plays. Quentin Johnston, okay? Quentin Johnston was a guy that a lot of people were very hesitant on in the offseason because he had a ton of drop issues. I don't know what he did in the offseason. I don't know if he made a deal with some demon. I don't know what he did. But all of a sudden, he is just this really good football player that plays like he's actually a big-bodied receiver. Because last year, he played like he was 5'6". This year, he plays like he's 6'5". And he has no drop issues. It's phenomenal, the transition he's made. Omarion Hampton, the Najee Harris injury, that was horrible. I hate that for him. He tears his Achilles. He's done for the season. A guy that's been carrying the rock for Pittsburgh for a while, never missed a game, tough, hard-nosed guy. Eventually, guys like that fall apart, and unfortunately, that's what happened to Najee last week. Omarion Hampton, he's going to get all the carries. I mean, they have I forget the guy that they have. Hassan Haskins. He's the only other guy. Now, I will say, Haskins looked great in the preseason when he got a chance. I think Omarion Hampton gets 85 to 90% of the carries. So I wouldn't worry about Haskins at all. And then Cam Scadaboo looks like Tyrone Tracy. I wasn't a big Tyrone Tracy guy, but it looks like he's going to be out a little bit with injury. And I'm starting to think Cam Scadaboo has something personally against me, because last year at Arizona State, he puts up 260 rushing yards on our face whenever we went on the road. The Bulldogs did. We got spanked by Scadaboo. Then he comes to Arrowhead. We went to MetLife. He just runs all over our face. My Kansas City Chiefs, he just runs all over one of the best run defenses in football. Yeah. I feel like he's starting to have a personal vendetta against me, but nonetheless, I'm going to start him because he is phenomenal. Not the most explosive. He's not. His longest run in his career is probably going to be 50 yards.
He said, "To hell with Bobby. To hell with Bobby's big board. I'm going to go."
I'm serious. He's relentless.
Better start writing letters, Bobby. You better straighten it out.
Dude, I would not want to fight Scadaboo. I'm not gonna lie. That dude looks like. I mean, he would just headbutt me. You know, it's also Scadaboo. He's going to get a ton of carries this week. I think he's a phenomenal back. He's going to be great in short yardage. They're going to call his name a lot, even versus a good defense in the Chargers. And then Malik Neighbors. I know he only put up, I think, 2 points last week versus a really good defense. Trent McDuffie is, in my opinion, an all-pro corner. Kind of kept him, and Russell Wilson had a really tough day passing. So Malik Neighbors, I think he's a start any given week, and I think Dart's going to call his number a lot because Dart is not afraid to make plays. You know, that's going to get him in trouble a little bit this game, I think, but I think Neighbors is going to have a good game overall. Then for the sits, Jackson Dart, there's more so like it's a really good defense. It's your first start. Yes, it's at home, which is decent, but we just got to see it first. I'm keeping him on the bench for now until we see something, because he's got 3 really tough matchups back to back to back. So waiting on him. Darius Slayton, I'm not sure. He has a couple of big time catches a game. Very underrated receiver, but just doesn't put stuff up on the stat sheet. I'd stay away from him for now. Theo Johnson, he's a little banged up. He's been banged up throughout the first 3 weeks. He is going to play. He did have some connection in the preseason with Dart, but I'm staying away from him for now. Then Trey Harris, I think he's just one big play receiver any given week. I'm staying away from him. He's probably going to have 1 catch for 23 yards, and that's it. And Aronde Gadsden, I think I hit on Aronde Gadsden because I loved him at Syracuse, loved his frame, loved his hands, and he has a wide receiver background despite him being a tight end. I think I'm just sitting Gadsden this week because of the Giants. I think they're going to be taking a lot.
Harbaugh said he's earned more snaps, though.
Oh, absolutely. He had a great game last week. Great game. Had, I want to say, 5-6 catches last week. He's phenomenal. I said this. He was a 5th-round pick, I believe. It's like, this guy's going to get playing time because it's only Will Dissly who's been banged up a little bit, but he's very underwhelming in my opinion. I think he's more of a blocking tight end than an actual receiving threat. Aronde is very much a receiving threat. Going to sit him this week, though. I think there's better options. We just need to see another couple of weeks of production from Aronde before I can comfortably start him.
Right.
So,
yeah, good list.
All right, we'll go ahead and move forward to the next. Look, this is our thumbnail. Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles go on the road against Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Philadelphia are minus 3.5-point favorites. This could be, I'm just saying, this could be a future NFC championship matchup, possibly. I really like the Buccaneers. I think they could be the NFC representative in the Super Bowl. That's how much I like this team. I think the Buccaneers win. I think the Eagles have been really underwhelming on offense. You know, A.J. Brown started to find his footing last week. But the Buccaneers, man, they've just been playing hard-nosed football. Baker Mayfield's playing some of the best football he's ever played. Emeka Egbuka is a big-time hit. They get Godwin back, and as soon as they get Godwin back, they lose Mike Evans. It's kind of tough luck, but I do think this offense is going to be cooking, and the Eagles, they've just been a little underwhelming. They've been scooting by these games just little by little, and I think the Buccaneers are going to be the first one that really takes that 0 from the Philadelphia Eagles.
I don't know, man. I think that's what we're going to do here is I like Philadelphia. I mean, Tampa is replacing all these players on the offensive line. They lost Corey Mock. I don't know if Wirfs is fully 100% healthy. I know that Philadelphia has struggled with Tampa Bay, but I do think that they go down there, and I think they cover the spread here. They're still missing out substantially on, with Mike Evans being out. That's a big problem. I would definitely take Philadelphia here. I think they're going to get it right. I think they're tired of hearing all the criticism for this stuff.
And they did start unlocking that offense in the second half last week. They did do that. They started kind of putting it together. A.J. Brown had a couple of big-time catches, because that offense was horrible last week until the second half, and then they started getting things together late in the third quarter. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm drinking all the Buccaneers Kool-Aid, man.
Sure.
So we're on opposite ends of the coin there. But we'll go ahead and start on the start sits. I don't think we're going to disagree too much here. Jalen Hurts, I think he's always going to have a rushing touchdown pretty much every single week. You've got Saquon Barkley, who, yes, he didn't have the best game, but I think he's still going to bounce back. He's a 15-point running back on any given week, no problem, if not even more than that. And then A.J. Brown, they finally kind of unlocked him. I think Jalen Hurts kind of realized, okay, this is working. I can just throw it up to this freak athlete, and he'll just catch it. What a concept. They finally started figuring that out in the second half, and it's been working. I think that's going to happen again. Then Baker Mayfield, like I said, playing some of the best ball of his career. I think he's phenomenal. He's a 20-point quarterback pretty much every single week. And then Emeka Egbuka. Fun fact, anybody that likes film breakdowns, tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, Emeka Egbuka's film breakdown over his first 3 weeks. I'm dropping that on my channel, so if you're interested in seeing my take on Emeka Egbuka, he's definitely starting for me this week. But if you want my take on him, I'd go pretty in-depth over his first 3 weeks. And then for the sits, Dallas Goedert, I think he had a big-time week last week. He's just really a fringe starter for me. I think there's better options. I would start Kyle Pitts over Dallas Goedert. I'd start a lot of these guys that are lower end on the totem pole right now for starting tight ends. I would start a lot of those guys over Goddard right now. I think he's a little bit baity because he's all over the place in terms of outcomes. Jahan Dotson, I feel like this is hate on Jahan Dotson every single week, but there's not a lot of Philadelphia Eagles that are, Devonta Smith's not going in here. I think Devonta Smith is, sit or start. He's very a tweener. I think Jahan Dotson is just a guy that's going to get you one big catch a game, and that's it. Chris Godwin, he's a guy that he's coming back this week. I just need to see how good he is off of that foot surgery. Need to see if he's still himself. Where are they playing him now that Mike Evans is gone? I like Chris Godwin as more of a slot guy. He's more successful there. But with Mike Evans out, are they just going to move Emeka Egbuka to the X and then Chris Godwin back to the Z? I'm not sure. So curious to see what they do there. But I'm sitting him this week. Rachaad White, he's a dude that can run hot all of a sudden and get 10 carries away from Bucky Irving. Staying away from him for now because his outcomes are literally like 3 carries or 15 carries. We're not sure. Then K. Dotton, he's the last guy. Staying away from him because he put up a 0 burger last week. So staying away from him. Bucky Irving's not on this list. He's a tweener for me as well. I think you should start him, but he's not a guy that I feel strongly about one way or another.
I got all your sits in full agreement here. So
yeah. There's not many controversial guys on the sit list for sure. Maybe Chris Godwin, but I gotta wait for him. Yeah. I gotta see what he's gonna do first. Obviously, talked a ton about cut, but if you want to use code cover2cash to kind of use that code for a deposit bonus, you can do that. Obviously, great social betting platform. We've talked about them a ton. Peer-to-peer betting. You can bet on literally anything. You can bet on politics, any sport you want, golf, whatever you want. I'll pull this over one more time. We've got a friendly wager between the two of us here.
Legal in 40, I think he's 45 states. So if your state doesn't have sports betting, you can get this app nonetheless because you're not betting against the house. You're betting against other people.
Exactly. And for people like...
if nobody's keeping the money, then it's not illegal. You can bet your friends all day long, which is what we're doing here in this college football matchup.
Exactly. And for me, guys, I live in Mississippi. I can't sports bet on my phone. With Cut, it's very convenient. This is how I do all of my sports betting, right? And you can withdraw the money if you come in. There's ways to get $50 free deposit bonus. You can get that immediately, and then you can win as much money as you want from there, and you can withdraw it, no issues. Literally,
No
very easy withdrawal process. It's just through ACH, and it's no problem. You can't withdraw back to a credit card, though, so you have to put your bank account on there, just kind of being straight up there. But
And it's not overseas. This is an American company based out of South Carolina.
Yep.
We had Steven Garcia on here endorsing it. He knows the owner. So this is, no nonsense, no scams, no garbage, no bullshit. Join and use the code Cover2Cash. Get that deposit bonus and have fun. Have fun watching the games you like. Have fun taking money from your friends. You can't screw around online, and the lowest VIG in the business.
And another thing, if you guys disagree with any of these lines, we're talking our takes. If you disagree with any of those lines, guys, Bobby's Big Board on cut, Justin Paul Sports on cut, send us bets. We will take your money. Okay, go ahead. We peer-to-peer betting. You got my username, Bobby's Big Board, Justin Paul Sports. It's right there on the screen. Just go ahead and send us a bet. My logo's there, Justin's logo's on there. You'll know it's us, and we can start making bets together, guys. So I think that would be fun. Viewers taking some of the viewers' money, absolutely. But we're going to go ahead and get into our next matchup. The Tennessee Titans, they've struggled thus far this year. They're going on the road versus another team that's really been struggling in the Houston Texans. I think they're both winless right now. Is that correct? I don't think the Houston Texans have a win yet. Do they?
I think that they're going to after this week. I mean, Tennessee just absolutely is a disaster. Their coaching situation is just an abomination to the NFL. I wouldn't be surprised if he got fired after this game if they lose. I mean,
you really think so?
Yeah, he's going to wreck Cam Ward. He doesn't understand situational football.
Oh, we're talking about the Titans coach. I thought you meant the Houston coach.
No. I think that Callahan's going to be the first head coach fired. I think the Titans
are both 0-3.
I think the Titans are worse than the Saints. This is, I think, a team that'll be picking top two. I just can't see it. I can't see any way for them to win any football games this year. I mean, Tony Pollard's been playing well, but they're not hitting Ridley. They're
trying to.
They're just, unfortunately, the worst team in the NFL. I think Houston can cover this point at home because who's going to get to the quarterback? I mean, C.J. Stroud is probably going to have his best game of the year. I think Nico Collins might hit $150 receiving. Not even joking. I think they're going to light their ass up. Give me the Texans. I'll lay the 6.5.
And there's a sneaky name. Now, I don't have him as a start, but Woody Marks could be a sneaky name that could get a bunch of points this week. Because if Nick Chubb, he's been kind of underwhelming. I hate to say that, but he's been a little underwhelming thus far this year because they haven't gotten the pass game going. He could have a great game this week, but I think Woody Marks is a guy that you guys should keep y'all's eye on. But the Titans, Cam Ward has shown flashes. He's shown flashes. Elick Eomanor, we've talked about him a ton throughout the offseason. He actually has all the touchdowns that have been thrown. He has all the receiving touchdowns on this team.
And that's it. It's not enough to beat this Texans team. It's not going to be enough. It's just not. I'm sorry, Titans fans. It's brutal. I feel bad for you. Man, and sometimes maybe the Titans are playing 4D chess here because they're building a new stadium down there. So they're letting it be shit for now, and then they could start drafting high and getting their players set up for Cam Ward to go into season 4 and open this brand new stadium down there in Nashville. So let's see what's going on.
And Nashville's a beautiful city, man. I agree with you. I think Houston gets their first win. The Titans, their defense is okay. The offense has been really poor. Cam Ward hasn't really done much, unfortunately. He has shown some flashes, but he just doesn't have a lot to work with. So you said that they probably have a top 3 pick, in my opinion. I agree with you. Where do you think they go? They have a pick in the litter of who they want. Obviously, they're not going to quarterback. I think the first 2 picks are going to be quarterbacks probably. So what position do you think they'd go after if you're the Titans? Offense, right? I would think.
Well, they've got pretty decent linemen up front. They've drafted offensive line the last 2, and I don't think they take running back, but they've got themselves a gaping hole all over the defense. I mean, who is their pass rusher? I mean, they got Big Jeff in the middle there, but other than that, that's where I think that they should be looking is pass rush, secondary even, or trade down and get more picks. I think that might be some of the options here for the Titans.
That's another one as well, because I think there's a lot of value in the second and third rounds of this draft class. But there's a guy from Miami. I forget his name. He's an edge rusher. He has been just going bananas this year. He's coming out in this draft class. That's somebody that they might go grab. Both of the Miami pass rushers have been great. They're probably both first-round talents. But let's go ahead and get into the start sets. C.J. Stroud, I completely agree with you. I think he might have one of his best games of the year. He has struggled all year last year and thus far this year. I think this is the game where he can actually have a decent matchup, and him and Nico Collins can go sicko mode. I think Nico Collins can have a great game, and I think C.J. Stroud could have 3 touchdown passes and 300 yards. Yes. Christian Kirk is another guy. I think he's going to get a decent amount of targets. He's always a guy that gets a ton of targets out of the slot. Historically, as long as he's healthy, I think Christian Kirk's a solid start in your flex. If you don't have anything better, Tony Pollard, for some reason, he's just continuing to be somewhat relevant. He hasn't gotten a touchdown. You know, he has to have a touchdown in order to be relevant, but he still gets a ton of usage. I mean, he's getting all the carries pretty much in this offense. I think this game could be close in the first half, and Tony Pollard can get enough usage to be relevant. And then Elick Eomanor, kid has been very good with Cam Ward. I think they have a good connection already. Calvin Ridley just can't hold on to a football to save his life. He keeps dropping. He just isn't looking good thus far. He had 7 targets. He had 1 catch out of those 7 targets. And Eomanor has been way more consistent catching the touchdowns. He's their red zone target. So starting Eomanor, I think he can get 10-plus points this week. And they're going to have to pass a lot. Cam Ward, I don't think this Texans defense is anything particularly good, but I don't think this is going to be a shootout. I just don't think so. And Cam Ward, I think the team's just not ready for him to succeed at a high level, and that means he's not going to have a great week fantasy-wise. He might have a couple of touchdowns and a pick and like 200 yards, but that's like his ceiling, I think, for me. And so I'm staying away from Cam Ward. I do love the talent, but just hate the situation for him. And then Calvin Ridley, I thought he was a great buy for Dynasty owners at the preseason because he had a great year last year with terrible quarterback play. They get an upgrade at the quarterback. He just doesn't even look like the same player right now. He's 30 years old. He's on the wrong side of 30, actually, and he just has a ton of really bad drop issues. The connection is not there with Cam Ward, and it looks like it's going to more Eomanor's side. So Ridley, he's going to have to figure out the mental mistakes and become relevant again, but until then, I'm sitting him for now. Jaden Higgins, their second-round pick. He was the first pick of the second round. Completely off of him. I was off from him from the very beginning. Even at his college tape was very underwhelming for me. Staying away from Higgins, I don't think he gets a ton of volume this year in general, and I think he might be a bust wide receiver. I don't want to say that yet, but don't like his film thus far this year. Nick Chubb, he's been really underwhelming, unfortunately. The injuries, I mean, you can't beat Father Time and all the injuries piling up. He's still a decent, serviceable back, but he's not a workhorse anymore, I don't think. So I'm staying away from him. He might get a ton of usage, but I think he's going to average like 2.5, 3 yards carry. And then Dalton Schultz, underwhelming tight end. At least from a fantasy perspective, he does a lot of things that they need him to do in terms of blocking, being a utility piece, but he's just not a receiving threat right now. So staying away from Dalton Schultz for now.
Good stuff.
So right now, I want to give a quick update on the Cardinals Seahawks. It's 20-13 Seahawks, 3 minutes left, but the Cardinals do have the ball. So close game there in Arizona. All right, we'll go ahead and get on to the next game. Cinderella story for the Colts, man. I mean, I expected them to be a decent team, but I did not expect Daniel Jones to be going crazy like he's been doing. So very impressive stuff from Daniel Jones. They're going to SoFi Stadium to play the LA Rams. The LA Rams are minus 3.5-point favorites. This might be my favorite play of the weekend. I think the Colts plus 3.5 is a no-brainer for me.
I like giving the hook here, so I'll take 3.5 on the road. The Colts right now are just a wagon. I mean,
dude, they are.
The Rams, they got Nakua, and they've got Devontae Adams, and they got Kyron Williams and Stafford, and those guys are legit contenders in the NFC West. But Indianapolis just is offensively a machine. You got Jonathan Taylor just absolutely crushing it. Probably going to be RB1 by the end of the season, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, everybody's healthy. Daniel Jones is playing lights out for his, NFL life. And good for him for doing that. It's kind of like a Baker Mayfield story here a little bit, but he's got protection back there. And that's something New York just has not had in years. And they've swung and missed on draft picks like Evan Neal, God bless him, Alabama legend. But they just haven't gotten it right in New York for the past
been a horror show.
And here, he's showing what you can do with him. And he's a monster of a human being. He can run. He's a nightmare to defend. And the Rams have a great defensive front, so I expect, a lot of stretch and screens here. I like the Colts to cover, but I think the Rams might win. This might be 27-24 game-winning field goal at the end of the game, maybe overtime. So if this is it's a game I'd stay away from, but if I'm gonna take it, I would take the Colts 10 points.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, every year it just seems like there's a quarterback that just comes out of nowhere that no one expects to be good. A couple of years ago it was Geno Smith for the Seahawks.
Darnold.
Then it was Baker Mayfield,
Darnold.
right?
Darnold.
And then it was Darnold, and now it's Daniel Jones, man. He's just in the big. And I want to do a film breakdown of why Daniel Jones is being successful. In New York, they made him play inside the pocket. They didn't want him to run outside a ton. They wanted him to stay in the pocket and throw strikes, which Daniel Jones is good at doing. But, man, they're using him out in space. They get the run game going with JT. I hope and pray that he stays healthy because he's been phenomenal. I mean, he's one of the best backs in the NFL. But they use him in space. They get the run game going. He gets off on play action, gets those long legs into space, and he's able to just throw people open. He's got a ton of weapons. I love this Colts team last year with Richardson, but unfortunately they just couldn't get things going. They almost made the playoffs, and they had a carousel of quarterbacks last year. So definitely love what the Colts done. Shane Steichen's one of my favorite offensive play callers. So let's go ahead and get into my start sits. Daniel Jones playing at an elite level all year. Love this. It is only 3 weeks, but the sample size is big enough to where I think he's the real deal. Jonathan Taylor, RB1 on the year thus far. You're stupid if you don't play him. I mean, it's that simple. Versus the Browns, it doesn't matter. He's that good. Tyler Warren, he leads this Colts team in receiving yards and receptions. Got to start him. Daniel Jones loves him. Michael Pittman as well. He's a guy that's not on this list, but I think he's somebody that you could start as well in your flex spot. Just don't feel as strongly about him as I do these others. Kyren Williams, even when he doesn't have a great performance, he's still giving you 8 to 10 points because they give him the ball that much. And they're going to continue to give him the ball that much. Low center of gravity, shorter back, hard to tackle, kind of like a Cam Skattebo. Very similar type of player. Not explosive or anything like that. But Skattebo can just catch 8-10 targets out of the backfield. Kyren Williams doesn't really do that. Puka Nacua, I don't know why, but he gets 15-16 targets every single game and brings them all in. He catches everything. He's got super glue hands. I don't know what it is about him, but he just doesn't drop the football. This dude's a killer athlete as well. He gets open, and even when he's not open, he catches it. Matthew Stafford is just spam targeting him every single week. So Puka Nacua, no-brainer start every single week as well. Then you have Matthew Stafford as a sit. I just feel like he's a guy that's going to get you a touchdown and a pick and 250 yards every single week. He was very underwhelming last year, and he's done that thus far this year. He's just not a guy that's giving you a ton of touchdowns. They run the ball with Kyren on the goal line a lot. I just think there's a lot of passing volume that gets taken away from him because of how good Kyren Williams is. So I'm staying away from him. I think the floor for Matthew Stafford and the ceiling are very similar. Terrence Ferguson, he just doesn't get any snaps. He's their second-round tight end. Kind of excited about him because of his athleticism, but so far he just hasn't pulled through and become the starter yet. Then Blake Corum, he's the RB2. There are certain times where he gets the ball a decent amount. He's like identical to Kyren Williams in terms of how they run the football. So as soon as Kyren Williams goes down, they have a carbon copy of him and Blake Corum. But as of right now, Kyren Williams is getting the rock more than anybody else. Then Josh Downs. Josh Downs has been kind of disappointing. I loved his film. I did a film breakdown on him as well. He just hasn't been getting a ton of targets. Been very inconsistent. So I'm staying away from him for now. He's got like a 9.8 projection. staying away from him for now. And Alec Pierce is only relevant if he catches a 60-yard deep bomb. And Daniel Jones just really isn't doing that. I mean, he's not really throwing the ball deep like that. He's got a very quick way of doing it. They're getting the ball out of his hands quick, or he's running, one or the other. So I love the way this Colts offense works, but Alec Pierce, he's just not a guy that's getting in space thus far. So
I think you could start Stafford against this defense, though, and be okay, but I wouldn't have him as my primary lead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if he's your QB2, okay, but I think there's better options out there. All right, next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, 2-1, despite having some questionable play offensively. They're going on the road versus the 3-0 49ers. They've scraped together 3 wins. I don't know how they've done it. They've had their starting quarterback out. Mac Jones has been just – they've just been scraping them together. They're like the Chiefs of last year, but I definitely don't think the 49ers are making the Super Bowl. Not even a deep playoff run either, because they just lost Nick Bosa. They're 3.5-point favorites at home. I do like this. I do think they can cover this, but I think the Jaguars plus 3.5. I think that all of the 49ers games have been close. The Seahawks almost got there, right? So I think the Jaguars for me here. This is a tough one. I think this is a really good line. I think the 49ers could win, but it's going to be close.
I'm going to take the half point on the road team here. Regardless of how Jacksonville's doing it, they got their new coach. They're getting it. I mean, the 49ers really just have Christian McCaffrey back there to make plays. Ayuk, they said today, he's still a ways away. Pearsall's hurting. Jennings is hurting. Like, this team is just – they need to fire their trainers because they're constantly hurt. Kittle's out. Purdy might play. I think he's scheduled to play this week, but there might be a little bit of rust there. And the Jaguars do have great defensive players. They got Hines Allen. They've got Travon Walker. They've got Okulun. They've got a secondary. I think the Jaguars can go into San Francisco and shock the world and win the game, honestly. So I'll take 3.5 here. Yeah. Give me the points all day long. And a 49ers team that's hobbling along to wins that might get them in the playoffs, but I just can't see, unless they get fully healthy, them going on a deep run. And losing Bosa is gigantic.
Absolutely gigantic. And he's out for the year, man. They thought at first they said he was fine. It's not a big time injury. It's not an ACL injury. And then they're like, yep, it's
he did this when he was walking off the field. He did this.
Yeah.
And when he did that, that's an indicator, he would know. So
yeah. So I definitely like the Jacksonville Jaguars plus 3.5 there, because they're kind of frauds in all honesty right now. The 3-0 record is definitely not an indicator of how they've been playing.
The 49ers are frauds. You heard it from Bobby, not me. You heard it from Bobby. 49ers are frauds, ladies and gentlemen.
But you know who isn't a fraud? Christian McCaffrey. That dude has been playing lights out. He might lead this team in receiving yards. I haven't looked at the stats yet, but I know he leads all running backs in receiving yards for sure. Leads all of them in target share. He's been decent on the ground as well. He's just been playing great football thus far. So good stuff there. Ricky Pearsall, if he plays, he just keeps catching big. Every time I look at my sleeper, 35-yard catch from Pearsall, 30-yard catch from Pearsall. He just keeps getting it. Purdy or Mac Jones, they both target him heavily. So like Pearsall as well if he plays. Not ready to give up on Brian Thomas Jr. There's been some effort issues. There's been some business decisions that he's made on the field that I'm not a big fan of. But
like George Pickens does?
Worse than that, because George Pickens will go up in high point of football. He'll go up in high point of football. Brian Thomas Jr. has literally, if he's in traffic, he's pulling away from the ball and not wanting to get a hospital pass thrown to him. And I get it. But stop sending him over the middle of the field if he's not going to do it. That's simple. Because Brian Thomas Jr., he's an X receiver. He's a vertical threat. Just use him like that. I don't know why it's that hard. But Brian Thomas Jr., he's had some issues with hands. I'm not ready to give up on him yet. I saw him last year do some incredible things. I'm not ready to give up on him yet. Travis Etienne, he's been phenomenal. The rushing defense of the 49ers has been great thus far this year, but I do think Travis Etienne can offer you some upside in the backfield as a receiver as well. So far, Travis Etienne, I think he's a top 5 running back on Sleeper right now, so keeping him as a start for now. And Britton Strange, so far he looks like the wide receiver 1 in this offense, and he's a tight end. So keeping him around for now. I was big on Brenton Strange, told everybody to go get him in the offseason if you could. Kind of expected that he's doing well. And looks like the Cardinals just tied it up 20-20 with 28 seconds left. Look at that. Great stuff. Let's go. You had the Cardinals money line, so Amari DiMercado just caught a passing touchdown. So good stuff. Anyways, for the sits, Brock Purdy's a sit. I don't know how he's going to look coming off the injury. I think they're rushing him back a little too soon. We'll see. Just not a big fan of Purdy. Even when he was on the field this year, he's been very inconsistent. Juwan Jennings, he's hurting if he does play. Super out on him. He's very inconsistent. Brian Robinson, they keep saying that they're going to be a two-back set. There's not.
They're not. No.
Shanahan said that every single year, and it's always been one back. It's always been that way. And that's why everybody gets hurt. It's just one guy to do the job. They use the hell out of him. They get hurt, and then it's the next guy up. That's how Shanahan does football. Does not care. He's going to crumble you up and throw you away. Brian Robinson Jr., he might get a goal line touch or two, but I'm staying away from him for now. Trevor Lawrence, he's been inconsistent. The defense is decent for the 49ers. I don't know how well he's going to do if they take the run game away from him. It's about time to say Trevor Lawrence is mid. I'm not so far to say that yet, but it's very, very close. If he's got another week or two where he's just throwing one touchdown, one pick, he's mid. Travis Hunter, he looks better right now on defense than he does offense, and that's because of the struggling offensive system. Trevor Lawrence has been struggling. I think Travis Hunter's better as a receiver, but right now in this offensive environment, he just is not a starter for you right now. Defensively, though, he's been playing lights out. I really like what he put on film.
Yeah, that's a good list here. I think he could play T-Law. I think that there's some vulnerabilities there, but we'll see.
Yep, absolutely. There's a lot of hurting people. So I don't know when the last time the Ravens started 1-3. I don't know the last time the Chiefs started 1-3, but one of these things are going to happen after this matchup. I'd like the Chiefs plus 2.5 here. They're at Arrowhead, one of the hardest places to play in the entire country. Ravens had a tough loss. They haven't looked great. There's been a couple of weeks where they just can't figure it out offensively. Derrick Henry's fumbling it every single game. And the Chiefs, they're coming off a good win versus the Giants. That was their first win. I think they get on the board. I think the Chiefs are starting to get Xavier Worthy back this week. I think the Chiefs are going to start figuring it out offensively, and they get their second win against the Ravens.
I'm going to push back here and say that I think Baltimore fixes their fumbling issue. They should have – it cost them 2 games. Realistically, the Ravens should be in a much better predicament than they are.
Sure.
I mean, they had the lead against Detroit. They blew the game against the Bills. And I think that they know what's at stake. And I'm not saying – I think this is just a personnel issue here with the Ravens. I mean, they got better weapons offensively. I like their backfield better. And Pacheco what were they doing last week? It just was wild to me to see Kansas City do that kind of stuff. I'm going to take the Ravens here to win the game 13-10 or 24-21.
The defense is going to keep it close.
Yeah, I like the under more, which is crazy to say about these two teams, but I just think that Kansas City is just in trouble.
Yeah.
They've got this. They're like the Browns with a quarterback, but they've got no skill players. And with that being said, it's just, I don't like any of the skill players there for them one bit. So I'll take the Ravens to win the game, and Kansas City starts 1-3, and the sky is falling a little bit. I mean, the Chiefs. Football is a cyclical game, and when you're changing personnel and you're not able to move the football. I mean, they look so bad against a lousy Giants team, and they really had to do everything they could to win that one. So
yeah,
I'm gonna take the Ravens. I think Henry has a career game here. I don't know. I like Travis Kelce. Where have you been? It feels like it's over for the Chiefs. I hate to say it to you because I know you like Kansas City, but it just feels that way until I'm proven otherwise. Your only wins against New York, and it's like Philadelphia. I mean, they played them.
That was a close game. Yeah,
but it just I don't know.
Chargers was a close game as well. I mean, we would have won the Eagles game if Kelce didn't drop that touchdown pass, right? So I think, they're in a similar boat to Baltimore where, we've made some stupid errors to where we could have won. We could easily be 3-0, and I think the Ravens could easily be 3-0 without the fumbles, right? So Getting into the start sits here, I think Lamar Jackson, he's the highest upside quarterback in the NFL, not named Josh Allen. I think he's a no-brainer start every single week. Derrick Henry as well. I know he had a head-scratching game a couple of weeks ago, but he's going to get a rushing touchdown pretty much every single game probably. I think the fumbles are a little bit of an issue right now, but I think Derrick Henry can get that out of his head. They've just been some freak incidents. You can't predict fumbles. They're just very volatile. I don't think he has a fumbling problem. He's never had a fumbling problem, so I'm not really worried about that thus far. Mark Andrews, I think he's finally getting incorporated into this offense after however many weeks. He always starts slow for some reason, but last week he had a great game. I feel comfortable starting him in my tight end slot now. If I have to, I'm cool with that. Patrick Mahomes, he's been playing great. I mean, despite the level of talent he has on the offensive side of the ball, he's missed a couple of deep balls, but he's made some great throws in crunch time like he always does. He actually leads this team in rushing, if you can believe that, through 4 weeks. So amazing stuff there. Travis Kelce, I think he's still a start for you at tight end. If you have him, I think the upside is there any given week to get 7-8 catches. So definitely keeping Travis Kelce in my starting lineup, even though he's been a little underwhelming thus far this year. He was underwhelming last year through the first 4 weeks, and then they started figuring it out, and then he had some big games.
Yeah.
The running back room in Kansas City, I would be shocked, and I mean shocked, if they do not take a running back within the first 2 rounds next year. I would love a Nick Singleton, even though I'm not super blown away by his film. I would love a Katron Allen. Both of the Penn State guys I would be fine with. Even Jeremiah Love, I'd be cool with him. Just get a running back, because Pacheco is not it anymore. I like him, and he's a cool change of pace, violent runner, but he's not a premier back. And Kareem Hunt is more your goal line guy. We just don't have a serviceable back. We just don't. So I'm keeping both of those guys on the bench for now. Zay Flowers, he disappeared last week, and that's what you're going to get from Zay Flowers. He can give you some big games any given week, and then Lamar can throw it 16 times total in a game, and Zay Flowers gets no targets. Versus the Kansas City Chiefs, McDuffie's going to be on Flowers. You saw what he did to Malik Neighbors last week. He's not going to be relevant this week either, I don't think.
Guess the Seahawks win. Oh well, keep going.
On a 52-yarder too. I mean, that's impressive. Let me see real quick what Trey McBride did. Trey McBride gave me 16 points. I'm cool with that. 7 for 52 on a tight end premium league. I'm cool with that. Yeah. Next up, we have DeAndre Hopkins. I like what he's putting on film. I mean, he's doing the toe tap and sideline catches. I like how they're utilizing him. I think he's good for 1 or 2 big catches a game, but that's pretty much it. He's a touchdown upside wide receiver. That's the only way you get solid points out of him. Then Rashad Bateman, I don't like any of the receivers right now for the Ravens against this matchup, so staying away from them for now.
Yeah, Chiefs defense is good enough to where your receivers ain't going to do lick, because Zay Flowers couldn't even be found last week. So,
yeah, that's true. Completely true. So next up, we're going the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams started him in a ton of leagues, threw 4 touchdown passes last week. Great performance from him. And they're going on the road to play the Las Vegas Raiders. Chicago are 1.5-point favorites. I like Chicago here. I think the offense for the Raiders have been struggling. Geno Smith, despite having a decent showing last week, they still lost, I believe. And it was kind of a garbage time stats for Geno Smith last week. I like what the Bears are putting together offensively now. Defensively, I think they're solid enough. I think the Bears are starting to turn it around a little bit here, especially versus a team that doesn't have the best defense in the Raiders.
I think that I'm going to go with the Raiders here. I think the Bears defense is just, it's the shits. I mean, the Raiders defense isn't nearly as bad as Dallas's. We're going to see what Chicago's really made of going on the road this week. I mean, there's a controlled environment here. I like the coaching. I like Pete Carroll better. I think that this is going to be the game where we're going to see some serious movement from Genty. And I do like the matchups with Jacoby Myers. I mean, Jalen Johnson's out for the year. I'll take the Raiders at home. I'll take the points. I'll take a money line on the Raiders here to win the game.
All right. All right, well, let's go ahead and look at the start sits. So, Caleb Williams, I think he's an absolute stud right now. He's got 7 touchdowns, 1 pick right now, rushing touchdown as well. Has a ton of rushing upside. They're even using him in the design QB run game. So, something that we haven't really seen out of Ben Johnson because he's had Jared Goff under center the past few years. You don't want Jared Goff running the football. So, I think Caleb Williams, I think he offers you a ton of upside any given week because of that, and he's just a super talented quarterback. So keeping him on my quarterback 2, even my quarterback 1 at this point. Roma Dunze, him and Caleb have just been getting touchdown connections going. He leads the league in touchdowns right now, Roma Dunze does. So I think he's going to continue to have that success versus the Raiders. Not a big fan of the Raiders' pass defense, especially after they lost Jack Jones last year. DJ Moore, they're using him in the backfield a little bit too. They just don't really have a ton of running back work. DeAndre Swift just isn't really doing too well right now. And DJ Moore, he gets involved in the pass game. He gets involved in the rush game. I like the way they're utilizing him. He has a decent amount of upside any given week because of that usage. And like you said, I think Ashton Genty is going to have a decent game. He's been a little underwhelming thus far. And I had a stat. I'm sure you saw the stat. He has more yards after contact than he does yards. If that even makes sense, he has more yards rushed after contact. I think he has like 40. I don't remember the exact stat, but I know he has more yards after contact than he does yards, which is insane. So that means he's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage pretty much every single play. So that I think they go offensive line in the draft and they get that a little bit better, but I think Genty can have a solid day. And Brock Bowers, he's one of the best fantasy tight ends in the sport. So sticking with Brock Bowers as my tight end, not feeling bad about it at all. Dante Thornton, don't start him. I know people have been kind of buzzing about him lately. Don't start him. He's bait. He's just one big play and that's it. Trey Tucker, coming off a 40-point game. I don't know how he continues to replicate any success like that. He's going to have to show me a little bit more. He's like Jawan Jennings last year. I got to see more of him before I comfortably start you. Luther Burden, same thing. He had 0 snaps over the first couple weeks. Then he comes out, has a 100-yard game and a touchdown. I love Luther Burden's talent, but with how much they run 2 wide receiver sets instead of 3, I don't know how much upside Luther Burden's going to have any given week. DeAndre Swift spoke about him a little bit. Not a big fan of him. He hasn't been very consistent. And then Colson Loveland, he has a hip injury. He is going to play, but he's been inconsistent outside of a big catch here and there.
Yeah, Luther Burden went off last week, though, but they're not playing that Cowboys defense.
Yep, absolutely. So let's go ahead and get on to the next. Speaking of the Cowboys, Packers are going on the road to play the Dallas Cowboys. Green Bay are -6.5 point favorites. I don't really know how to feel about this line because I feel like the Cowboys offensively have been fine. They lose CeeDee Lamb, which is a big loss. I think he'll come back probably next week or the week after that. I don't think this is a 4-week timeline like a lot of people are saying, or else he would have went on IR. So I think this is a 2-week injury, probably max. So this week and next week, and then I think he'll be back after that at the latest. But I do like the Packers here. They kind of laid an egg last week versus the Browns, but they had a really good defense, and the Cowboys have shown to not be a very good defense. I don't know if they – I'll take the Green Bay -6.5, but it is close. I think this line's fairly accurate.
I'm going to take it as well because CeeDee Lamb is out of the game, and because of that, we're going to have to see the Cowboys try and run the football with Javonte Williams. I mean, I don't think that they're going to trust – he's doing well, but I trust the Packers front 4 way better. The Packers are a little banged up on the offensive line, but the Cowboys pass rush isn't nearly as lethal without Micah Parsons on their team and the Steadies on this team. And I think that they're going to this is Lambeau South. I mean, we always say that about Chicago, but this is Lambeau, Texas. I mean, they've never lost there. They won their Super Bowl there. Not that any of that matters for gambling purposes, but in this game, I'm going to take the Packers taking care of their offensive line situation. They're facing a better matchup than they had last week. And I think Josh Jacobs is finally going to get it going here. I think we're going to see a pretty solid game from Golden, who went to Texas. Give me the Packers here. I'll lay the 6.5. I think it might be a 10-point win here. I think Dallas is in trouble. I think Dallas is without CeeDee Lamb. It just absolutely changes what they're going to do offensively. Not having Zach Tom in there for the Packers is a smart move because he re-aggravated his injury. But next week the Packers have the bye, so I think that they're like thinking that this is a defense that's not like the Browns to where they don't want him to put the recovery, so they're going to use it as an extra bye week. So we got some rookies up front, but I think that they're going to get it going this week.
And I think Josh Jacobs can have a really good day as well.
He's due.
So, he's actually been pretty consistent. I mean, thus far this year. Yes, his yards per carry isn't nothing great, but I mean, they run the hell out of him every single week. But let's go ahead and start sits here. Jake Ferguson, for me, for whatever reason, with CD gone, Jake Ferguson's just the guy in the short game. Dak Prescott likes to get the ball out of his hands a lot, and Jake Ferguson, I think he had like 11 catches last week. So definitely like Jake Ferguson here. I've been saying sit him for a while, but with CD out, I think Jake Ferguson's just their short yardage guy in the pass game. Javonte Williams, he's been running his heart out. I know he had a fumble last week, but definitely think Javonte is still a guy that's going to get the majority of the carries. Jaden Blue, some of the other backs, Miles Sanders, I don't think these guys are super relevant. Jaden Blue is actually my lowest rated running back. If you go look at my rankings, you can find my rankings in the description of all my videos. You'll see that Jaden Blue is at the very bottom of my running back rankings if you go to that tab. So wasn't a surprise he hasn't done great thus far. And then George Pickens, I think he's the wide receiver 1 now. He started getting a ton of targets once CD was out. I think that doesn't change here. I think the Packers defense is good, but they do have a slight problem at corner. I think George Pickens is going to have a decent day, and I think you're comfortable starting him as like your wide receiver 2. Jordan Love, this defense for the Cowboys is terrible. I think Jordan Love can come out there and really do something special this week. And then Josh Jacobs, I think once they pull ahead, Josh Jacobs is going to get 20, 25 carries minimum. And I think he can get a rushing touchdown or 2 this game as well. Then for the sits, I know Matthew Golden caught a long pass last week. I just need to see it more consistently. I need to see Jordan Love hit it a little bit more consistently, and I need to see more targets from Golden. Golden is solid after the catch. He's got great ball skills. You can just chunk it up to him, and he can catch it 9 times out of 10. I need more targets from Golden, or I'm just not going to start him. Romeo Doubs, I think he's kind of like the odd man out in this thing. I know Christian Watson should be coming back in a few weeks probably. For me, Romeo Doubs, I think Dontavian Wicks is the next guy up. I think Romeo Doubs is the odd man out here. Kavontae Turpin and Jalen Tolbert, I'll talk about those guys collectively. With CeeDee Lamb out, I think it's Jake Ferguson and George Pickens. I don't think these other wide receivers are going to be very relevant, unfortunately. And then Dak Prescott, I need to see some more consistency from Dak Prescott. I mean, he's just not being the Dak Prescott that I've seen in a few years ago where he was playing at an MVP level. And especially with CeeDee Lamb out, that was like his safety net. I'm not sold on Dak Prescott right now, so I'm staying away from him for now.
Good list.
All right.
We got 2 more games, I think.
I believe so as well. Yep, the Monday night games. Got 2 Monday night games, doubleheader next Monday. We got the New York Jets going on the road to play the Miami Dolphins. I don't know how to feel about this line, man. I feel like the Jets should be favored because the Dolphins are just a dumpster fire right now with the coach. Tua's playing horribly.
I'm going to take the Dolphins at home here. Justin Fields is still coming back from a concussion, and we don't know what they're going to be able to do. Miami, has played better. I mean, they didn't win last week, but they played better. This is a home game. He's finding Hill. They're finding their stride. It was a tough loss for Miami last week. I think they get it together. And the Jets just find ways to lose football games. It is just unbelievable last week. But the block kick, they run it back, and then they give up the field goal
4 different times last week.
It just is crazy. I'm going to take the Dolphins. I'll lay that 2.5 here. So,
I think I'd stay away from this game, man. The Monday night games always give me the heebie-jeebies. But I do think Justin Fields, if he does play, I think he's fairly confident in me starting him just because of the rushing upside. Garrett Wilson, regardless of who plays, I think Garrett Wilson's a start at your wide receiver position. And Breece Hall, he's been a little underwhelming, but I think he can get some stuff going against this Miami defense. So like Breece Hall. Devon Achane, I know he didn't have a great game last week, but he still catches a ton of catches, ton of balls. I think he's relevant just because of that. Then I like Jalen Waddle. I know he popped up on the injury list, but I think that's just a precautionary maintenance thing. I think he will play, no problems there. If he doesn't play, obviously Tyreek Hill is a slam dunk start, but I do like Waddle a little bit more on film thus far than I like Tyreek Hill. I think he's going to get a lot more yardage this week than Tyreek does. Then for the sits, Tua Tagovailoa, I need to see some more consistency out of him before I feel confident starting him. Even against the Jets defense, they do have some solid players on defense. I know Quincy Williams, not Quinnen Williams, but Quincy Williams is out this game. That's a big-time loss at linebacker, but they still have Quinnen. They still have Sauce. They still got some ballers on this defense, and I think Tua might struggle a little bit. Then Tyreek Hill. I don't know. There's just some off-the-field stuff that's really kind of making me get bad vibes from Tyreek Hill. He had a decent game last week. I want to say 50, 60 yards and a touchdown. I'm just staying away from him for now. I will start him, but I'm not going to feel super great about it. If you have him, you're probably going to have to start him, but I just don't feel great about it. Then the running back room for the Jets outside of Breece Hall. We thought it was going to be a three-headed monster under Aaron Glenn. Doesn't look like that's the case. It looks like it's the Breece Hall show, so not feeling comfortable about either one of those running backs. And then Mason Taylor, he was my lowest graded rookie tight end before the draft. He's not good. Plain and simple, I'm not starting him until he proves me wrong.
Yeah, I agree. We're just going to see how this one plays out. Should be a fun Monday night game there.
Yep, absolutely. And then the last game, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals, who are just falling apart because Joe Burrow, I think Joe Burrow had an argument to win MVP last year. He played phenomenally last year. And who knew? If he goes down, your team just sucks. So they're going on the road to play the Denver Broncos. I love the Denver Broncos plus 7.5 here. I don't like Jake Browning. He's proven that he's going to throw a bunch of interceptions. And versus this defense, I just don't think this is going to be a great game for the Bengals. I love their offensive staff outside of Browning and Chase Brown, but I just don't think they're going to get the ball rolling versus this defense.
Well, I'm going to take the 7.5 because the Broncos offense hasn't exactly been lining it up either.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll take the points. Browning has shown flashes that he can throw to these guys and have an efficient game. I don't think the Broncos defense is nearly the wrecking crew that they faced against Minnesota. I'm going to take 7.5 here. Give me the points on the road for the Bengals. They might win the game. Should be super close. It's the better of the two games on Monday night for sure.
Absolutely.
But it's starting to get a little hairy with the Bengals. Last week's absolute disaster piece. My goodness.
But I will say the Broncos are playing against the Bengals defense, who might be the worst. I mean, their defenses, we knew that they weren't going to be good. They've overperformed slightly, but they're still not good. I'm still starting the Bengals wide receivers. It wouldn't be in good faith for me not to say start Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I think they're good enough to where they can be difference makers. T. Higgins didn't have a great game last week, but I do think he can get involved this week versus the Broncos, especially if Pat Surtain plays. He's going to be on Jamar Chase, and then T. Higgins might get some action because of that. I think Bo Nix versus this defense is a no-brainer as well. He struggled with turnovers this far this year, but I think he can turn it on and have some big plays this week. And those are all probably going to go to Cortland Sutton. He seems like he's turning it on a little bit. He had a good game last week, so like Cortland Sutton. Then J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins, he's a workhorse, and he's going to continue to be a workhorse. He has 3 touchdowns on the year, has, a ton of yards, over 300 yards, I believe, as well. So he's been cooking this year. So like what I saw from J.K. Dobbins until he inevitably gets hurt, I'm starting him. Then for the sits, Jake Browning. He just throws too many interceptions. I'm off on him. Chase Brown, probably the worst starting running back in football. I told you guys to sell him in Dynasty. Y'all didn't listen to me, and now y'all stuck with a guy that's not even averaging 2 yards a carry. So staying away from him. Mike Gesicki, he might have a decent game, but there's way better tight ends to start right now. If you have to start him, okay. But outside of that, I would not start him over pretty much any other starting tight end. RJ Harvey, he just hasn't gotten the opportunities yet. and he's been very inconsistent through his last 8 carries. I think he's averaging 1.8 yards a carry right now through his last 8 attempts. We need more consistency. I need his vision to get a little bit better. But I love the explosive upside from RJ Harvey. Then Evan Ingram. He is healthy, but thus far they have not targeted him in this offense. He's not a focal point in this offense, it doesn't look like, so I'm staying away from Evan Ingram. I thought he might have a decent year, but thus far he has been a little bit banged up, and he has not been targeted when he's on the football field.
Yeah, Evan Ingram just he's pretty good tight end, though, but yeah, they just haven't done anything. I think he's a little bit past his prime. We're going to see. I like the Bengals offense here to make some plays, but I think I could play Jake Browning here because Chase and Surtain. I mean, Surtain got cooked last week. I mean, it's, but they still got other options with T. Higgins and able to throw the football. So I think that Browning is a start, even on a road game like this, redemption spot. He's not the worst.
Yoshivas is a serviceable wide receiver 3. I mean, they got players. I mean, Jermaine Burton's probably another healthy scratch, but he's solid. They've got Tinsley, who's another depth option for him. I just named the whole wide receiver core for the Bengals. But, yeah, I think they have some options there. Jake Browning definitely has the cast to succeed, but he just keeps throwing picks, man. So I'm staying away from him for now.
Bobby, what a show.
Yeah, man. Honestly, we did really good because with Steven Garcia, we were there for 35, 40 minutes, and we're still
almost an hour.
Around 2.5 hours. Yeah, we did that for almost an hour. We kind of rushed through this a little bit to just kind of because people are going to start tuning out after 3 hours, man. So thank you guys for watching for sure.
Yeah, next week we come back to Friday nights. So if we run a little late on Friday night, it's not as different as it was, but it was the only way we can get Steven on the show because his kid does play high school ball, and they play high school ball on Fridays. So it makes perfect sense. And this show would have been on Thursday anyway. I'll be out of town for the weekend. So, but nonetheless, Bobby, you got anything you want to plug? Any videos? Anything you got going on?
I'm starting to get back into film breakdowns a little bit more. I'll have another film breakdown next week. I'll have you guys vote on that. So if you check out my posts, I have polls every single week, seeing who you guys want me to break down. Emeka Egbuka is coming out tomorrow. So if you guys want to see how he did over the first 3 weeks, I give my takes on him, what I saw, positives and negatives. There are some negatives for sure, but definitely has some positives as well. You can't have 4 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns on the year without it being good. And yeah, absolutely. Thank you. If you're still watching, Steven, probably not, but if you are, thank you for joining. Very excited to have you. It's a great show for sure. And guys, there's 18 people in this watching right now. Do not be afraid to hit us up on YouTube. Come to the YouTube, shoot us a couple comments. Got any trade ideas, trade suggestions, anything like that? Start sits, lineup suggestions, anything like that. We're always down to give you advice.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the games. Great college football slate. Get your NFL fantasy lineups. Get your bets in. Use the code COVER2CASH. And with that being said, we will see you next Friday, 9 o'clock Eastern time on this channel. Follow us on X, and y'all have a great weekend. Roll Tide.